Welcome, everyone, to a distinct edition of The Deep Dive. Today, we're stepping into the extraordinary 10. Now, usually we take a stack of articles, we sort through them, and try to find a narrative thread. But today it's different.
It really is.
Today feels less like reading a report and more like we've stumbled onto a blueprint of the human operating system. A blueprint we weren't supposed to see.
It absolutely feels that way. The research we have in front of us, specifically the 2026 genomic data, it completely reframes what it even means to be a functioning human being.
Right.
It moves the conversation away from wellness and squarely into survival mechanics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And before we dive in, I want to pose a question to you, a dangerous question. What if the calendar on your wall is lying to you? What if the rate at which you age isn't determined by time, but by an invisible force you interact with every single day?
And that's the hook, isn't it? We're so used to thinking of mental health as this, clinical siloed thing.
Yeah, go to a therapist.
You talk about your feelings, you go home. But the sources we're looking at today frame it so differently. They frame mental health as a hidden global superpower. It is a biological reality that dictates your longevity, your capability, and your physical survival.
And to prove that, we are going to hit you right now with 3 shattering revelations from this research. These are the things that made me just stop cold when I first read them.
Let's do it.
Teaser number 1. We tend to think happiness is all in our heads, right?
Chemical signal.
Chemical signals in the brain. Well, it turns out that 95% of the chemical responsible for happiness isn't produced in the brain at all. It's produced in a completely different organ, your gut.
Which changes everything about how we treat mood. But here's teaser number 2. We often think of trauma as just a memory.
Something immaterial.
Yeah, something that lives in the past. But the research shows trauma is physically written into your muscle fibers and your fascia. It stays there, locked in the body, even when the mind forgets.
And teaser number 3, and this is the one that actually unsettled me, is about stress. We think of stress as a feeling, oh, I'm so stressed, I need a vacation.
We trivialize it.
We do. But this research reveals it's a mechanism that can physically age a human being by a decade in a matter of years.
It's not just a feeling, it's a biological event.
So here is our promise to you. By the end of this session, you will never look at your own biology or your mental health the same way again. We are going to uncover the extraordinary 10 facts that define this new understanding.
And we're going to move through them, peeling back the layers of the human system one by one.
So here's the roadmap. We're going to go in reverse order, counting down to the most foundational element. We've got Fact 10, the BioAge Accelerator. Fact 9, the gut-brain axis.
Fact 8 is the wired but tired loop. Fact 7 is the 7 Tesla precision.
Fact 6, the choice overload glitch. Fact 5, the somatic memory.
Then Fact 4, the ADHD superstrength. Fact 3, neuroplasticity windows.
Fact 2, the 50% cortisol spike. And finally, Fact 1, the regulatory anchor.
It is a massive landscape.
It is. And we're going to take our time to make sure we understand exactly what is happening under the hood. All right, are you ready to see the world differently? Let's start the clock. We're officially starting the clock. You might think you know the basics of this subject, but the reality is much bigger than you imagine. Let's start with the true scale. Fact number 10.
Fact number 10, the BioAge Accelerator.
Okay, let's stop on this title for a second. The BioAge Accelerator. It sounds dramatic, almost like science fiction.
It does.
But I want to push back on this a little bit. We've known for decades that stress is bad for you. We know it raises blood pressure, it's bad for the heart. Is this title just a new marketing wrapper for old advice? Or is there actually something different happening in the data here?
It's fundamentally different. And it's different because of where we are measuring it. We aren't looking at blood pressure cuffs or heart rate monitors anymore. We are looking at longitudinal genomic research. The 2026 data is telling us that you don't just have, a lot on your mind. You have a biological force tearing through your cells. To understand why, we have to throw out the old metaphors and talk about shoelaces.
Shoelaces. Okay, I'm listening. But you got to make it make sense.
Look at your sneakers. You know those little plastic tips at the end of the laces? The aglets.
Sure, yeah, they keep the lace from fraying.
Exactly. Without those plastic tips, the lace would unravel and become, useless pretty quickly. Well, your DNA, your chromosomes, they have the exact same thing. They're called telomeres. They are these protective caps at the very end of your chromosomes.
So they stop the genetic material from unraveling.
Precisely. They keep it all together.
Okay, so I have tiny plastic tips on my DNA. Got it.
Now, here's the mechanism. Every single time a cell in your body divides to make a new cell, those telomeres get a little bit shorter. It's just part of the natural aging process. It's like a countdown clock. And when the telomere gets too short, the cell can't divide anymore. It enters a state called senescence.
Senescence. Define that for us. Is that just cell death?
Not exactly. It's almost worse. It's functional decline. Think of it as a zombie cell.
A zombie cell.
Yeah, it's not dead, but it's not working right, and it starts pumping out inflammation into all the surrounding tissue. Now, usually, this happens slowly, over decades. It's why we get wrinkles, why we slow down. But, and here is the kicker, stress hormones like cortisol, they press the fast-forward button on this whole process.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, when I'm chronically stressed, I'm not just worried. I am literally taking a pair of scissors to my own DNA.
That is a terrifyingly accurate way to put it, yes.
I want to try to visualize this because I think it's hard for us to connect, I had a bad meeting, or I'm worried about my mortgage with my cells are dying.
Okay, let's try this. I want you to imagine shrinking down, smaller than a grain of sand. You are standing inside the nucleus of one of your own cells.
It's probably pretty crowded in there.
It's a hive of activity, and in the center, you see the massive spiraling double helix of your DNA. It's distinct, it's structural, and at the very ends of those spirals, you see these glowing golden caps. Those are your telomeres.
Okay, I see them. They're glowing. They look stable.
Now imagine a flood of cortisol entering that environment. Cortisol it's acidic in this context. It's harsh. You watch as those cells try to divide, but in this toxic environment, instead of a clean snap, you see those golden caps fraying. They look like a rope under too much tension. They're snapping, they're unraveling.
It's like watching a candle burn from both ends simultaneously.
Precisely. You are watching time speed up. You are watching biological time literally disconnect from the clock on the wall.
That's visceral. And honestly, it makes the concept of stress management feel a lot more urgent. But is this just a theory? Or do we have hard numbers on this? Because the source mentions a study from 2026.
We do. And the numbers are staggering. This comes from the UK Biogenomics Institute. They did a massive study on biological age versus chronological age.
So chronological is the number on my birthday cake. Dialogical is the state of my telomeres.
Correct. And they looked at participants who were suffering from occupational burnout or, long-term psychological stress. We aren't talking about someone who had a bad week.
No, this is chronic.
This is chronic, sustained pressure, financial insecurity, high-pressure leadership roles, intense caregiving, that kind of thing.
And what was the discrepancy? What did they find?
They found that these people, they had telomere lengths equivalent to someone 7 to 10 years older.
Whoa, hold on. 7 to 10 years.
Yes. So you could be a 35-year-old executive looking fine on the outside, maybe just a little tired, but cellularly, you are walking around with the body of a 45-year-old.
That is a lost decade. That's 10 years of vitality just evaporated.
It is a lost decade, and it completely challenges the whole hustle culture narrative, doesn't it? We think we are trading sleep for productivity.
Yeah. Or relaxation for success.
Right. But actually, we are trading life expectancy.
It makes me think about those photos of presidents before and after their terms. They always look like they aged 20 years and 4. We always thought that was just gray hair and wrinkles, surface level stuff. But you're saying their insides are actually older.
It's molecular decay, and it's not just the DNA. The source material highlights another victim of this process, the mitochondria.
The powerhouse of the cell. I remember that from high school biology.
Everyone remembers the powerhouse, but think about what that means practically. These are your energy factories. When the brain perceives a threat, a deadline, an angry email, a crying baby that won't stop it, releases waves of catecholamines and cortisol, this creates oxidative stress.
Which was basically biological rust. Right.
Yes. And the mitochondria start to malfunction. They underperform. So when people with burnout say, I'm just so tired, I can't think, or I have brain fog, it's not just a lack of sleep. Their cellular power plants are literally brownouting.
It's an energy crisis at the microscopic level.
I like the analogy of a library for this. It really captures the systemic failure.
Okay, hit me with it. Paint the picture.
Imagine your body is a magnificent ancient library. The cells are the books. The telomeres are the checkout logs, or maybe the spine of the book that holds it all together. In a healthy life, books are checked out, read, returned, repaired. The collection lasts for a century.
It's peaceful, organized.
Now imagine chronic stress. Stress is a panic librarian. This librarian is screaming, throwing books into circulation, ripping them off the shelves. They are forcing the books to be read 247 without ever being repaired or returned to the shelf.
So the spines break, the pages fall out, the glue melts.
Exactly. The librarian destroys the collection in half the time. Not because the books were bad, but because the system was abused. The pacing was all wrong.
Okay, I'm feeling a little panic myself right now. I'm thinking about my own stress levels, my own librarian running around screaming, "This is heavy. Please tell me there's a twist here. Is this damage permanent? Once the shoelace is frayed, can you put the plastic tip back on, or are we just doomed?"
Here is where it gets really interesting, and this is the hopeful part of the 2026 data. Biological aging is dynamic. It is not a one-way street.
You can reverse it.
You can influence it significantly. The source cites a 12-week study, so just 3 months, where they used interventions like sleep optimization, mindfulness, and structured breathing.
Things we often dismiss as wellness fluff.
Right. We usually roll our eyes at structured breathing. But they measured the genetics, and after 12 weeks, they saw a measurable reversal.
No way.
Telomere activity increased, inflammatory gene expression dropped.
So by changing the mental input, they physically repaired the genetic hardware.
Yes. This is the key takeaway. Managing your mindset is not self-care in the sense of a luxury spa day. It is cellular maintenance.
I love that phrase, cellular maintenance. It makes it sound mechanical, necessary, like changing the oil in your car.
It literally buys you time. Each breath of calm, each night of good sleep is casting a vote for your DNA to repair itself. It's stopping the panicked librarian and saying, hey, let's glue this spine back together before we send the book out again.
This brings up a huge question for me, though. If we know this, if the science is this clear that stress is biologically aging us, what does that say about how we work, about our society?
It's the elephant in the room, isn't it? We have built an entire civilization, an entire economy, predicated on the idea that pushing through is a virtue, that burnout is a badge of honor.
Right. I'll sleep when I'm dead. Well, apparently, based on this data, you'll be dead sooner, so you'll get your wish.
Exactly. We are designing environments, workplaces, gig economies, 204/7 digital connectivity that objectively shorten human lifespans. If you had a factory that exposed workers to a chemical that aged them 10 years, we'd shut it down. We'd call it a hazard.
But because the chemical is cortisol and is produced inside our own bodies in response to the emails we send, we call it hustle. We call it ambition.
We have to ask ourselves, if success is measured in output, but that output costs us years of life, is it actually success? Or is it failure measured in years lost?
That hits hard. Failure measured in years lost. It really reframes the quarterly earnings report, doesn't it?
The BioAge Accelerator forces us to confront the fact that our biology and our modern lifestyle they're at war. And your telomeres are the casualties.
It really puts the responsibility back on us, but also on the systems we build.
Yeah.
It's not just about calming down. It's about recognizing that our bodies are casting a vote every single day based on how we regulate our emotions.
And that vote determines how long we get to stay in the game. It determines the structural integrity of the entire library.
It's a sobering thought, but also an empowering one. You have your hand on the dial, you can slow the clock, you can tell the librarian to chill out.
You can. The biology is listening to you.
That foundation is mind-blowing, but it only scratches the surface. To really understand the scale of what we're dealing with, we have to look at fact number 9, which takes this concept into a completely different dimension.
Okay, let's now focus on fact number 9. We are moving deeper into our countdown. Let's dive into fact number 9.
Right, and this is one of those facts where you basically have to throw out the old user manual for the human body.
Okay.
We're talking about the gut-brain axis. But, and this is the important part, we're looking at it through the lens of that huge 2026 biomapping project.
So this isn't the, eat more yogurt and feel a bit better kind of advice we've been hearing for years.
No, not at all. This is hard-coded neuroscience. This is the real mechanics of it.
I'm glad you said that because gut health has become such a buzzword, right? It's on cereal boxes, and you usually just think, okay, if my stomach hurts, I might be a little grumpy.
Exactly.
But looking at the research you sent over, especially that metabolomics data, we're not really talking about digestion, are we? It's more like a second intelligence.
We are talking about a biological superhighway. It literally dictates your reality. And to get how big a deal this is, we have to start with the one statistic that just floors people.
Okay, I'm ready.
When you think about serotonin, the happiness molecule, the thing antidepressants target, where do you picture it being made?
The brain. It's a neurotransmitter. I just assume it's cooked up in the neurons upstairs to keep things running smoothly.
That is the logical assumption. and it is almost completely wrong.
Oh.
The 2026 data confirms it. Approximately 95% of your body's serotonin is manufactured in your intestines, not your brain.
95%. Wait,
95.
that's staggering. So the brain is just the distribution center, but the factory, the manufacturing plant, is down in the gut.
Precisely. And that's the paradigm shift. For 50 years, psychiatry has basically treated the head as this sealed-off system. If you were depressed, anxious, we assumed the machinery in the skull was broken.
Right, a software problem.
But if the actual fuel for that machinery, the serotonin, is coming from the gut, then we've been totally ignoring the supply chain.
So technically, happiness is a digestive byproduct.
In a very literal biochemical way, yes. But it goes so much deeper than just chemicals. The reason they call it a second brain isn't just a metaphor, it's anatomical.
Right, I was reading about the number of neurons. It's not just, a simple tube.
Not even close. Your gut is lined with what's called the enteric nervous system, the ENS. We're talking about 500 million neurons embedded in the intestinal walls.
500 million.
To give you some scale, that's about the same number of neurons you'd find in the brain of a cat.
So we have a feline-level intelligence system just wrapped around our internal organs. That is a wild image. But what is it doing? A cat's brain hunts, it jumps. What are these neurons doing in the dark?
Okay, to get that, you have to change your mental picture. Stop thinking digestive tube. That's plumbing. It's outdated.
Okay.
Based on the new mapping, I want you to imagine you're miniaturized and you're standing on the inner lining of your gut.
All right, I'm there.
You are not in a tube. You are standing in what looks like an alien rainforest. It is teeming with life. Billions of microorganisms, bacteria, fungi forming these huge living cities.
Wow.
There are trade routes, there are turf wars. It's a bustling, chaotic ecosystem.
And the neurons, where are they?
They're woven all through this rainforest like a sensor network. And they're constantly tasting the environment. They're reading chemical signals, checking for toxins, monitoring what the bacteria are doing.
And then they report back?
They take all that data and they encode it into electrical signals. It's like Morse code being tapped out from deep inside the rainforest.
And that code travels up the main line, the vagus nerve.
That's the one, the vagus nerve. That's the fiber optic cable they talk about in the reports.
Okay, so the brain is like headquarters, the command center.
Yes, it makes the big decisions, holds the memories, all that. But the gut is the sensory outpost. It's the forward operating base, deep in the field, gathering intel.
And headquarters can only act on the intel it gets from the outpost.
Exactly. And this is where so much of the modern mental health crisis starts to make physical sense. Imagine that fiber optic cable is under attack.
And an attack is what, a bad diet, stress, antibiotics?
All of it. Ultra-processed foods, chronic stress, they just wreck the rainforest, they kill off the good guys and let the hostile species take over.
So it creates noise on the line.
It creates static, the signal gets garbled, headquarters, the brain, is sitting there waiting for a calm, all-clear report, and instead it gets this blast of interference.
Or worse, a false alarm.
A false alarm is the perfect way to put it. When the microbiome is out of balance, the gut starts screaming signals of threat and danger up the vagus nerve.
So the brain feels the surge of cortisol, it feels panic, but it looks around the room and there's no tiger.
Right. There's no visible threat. So the brain, this amazing storytelling machine, tries to make sense of the feeling. It says, my heart is racing, I feel dread, so I must be anxious about that work meeting tomorrow.
It rationalizes the biological signal as a psychological problem.
That's it. That is the core finding. We are so often treating a hardware malfunction inflammation in the gut as if it's a software bug in the mind. The call is coming from inside the house.
Okay, this is huge. So if the outpost is sending bad intel, we need to know who's on the radio down there. The research names, right? We know the specific actors.
We do. The AI-assisted metabolomics let them finally ID the heroes and the villains with, incredible accuracy.
Let's start with the heroes. I saw Lactobacillus rhamnosus mentioned a lot.
That's one of the big ones, Lactobacillus rhamnosus and also Bifidobacterium longum. Think of these as the peacekeepers of the rainforest.
Okay.
Their main job, biochemically, is to regulate the production of GABA.
And GABA is the brakes for the brain, right? It calms things down.
The absolute brakes.
Yeah.
GABA is what stops the racing thoughts. It lets you relax. These bacteria are basically little on-site factories making sure the signal going up to the brain is all clear, stay calm.
So if you have a healthy population of these guys, you're just chemically predisposed to be more chill.
You have a much higher baseline for calm, yes. But then you have the antagonists, the bad guys.
And they thrive on
Sugar. Processed fats. You feed the rainforest that stuff, you're feeding them, and they don't produce GABA, they produce inflammatory cytokines.
I've heard of cytokines. The immune system, right?
Think of them as chemical messengers that just scream attack or invasion. When those flood the gut, they physically irritate the vagus nerve. They provoke the entire nervous system into high alert.
So you eat a pastry, the bad bacteria have a party, they release these scream messengers, and a few hours later, you're feeling this vague, irritable anxiety.
And you have no idea why. You just blame your partner for breathing too loud, not realizing you're in the middle of a microbial riot.
Which brings us to the so what do we do about it part. The report calls it psychobiotics.
Psychobiotics. It's a term you're going to hear a lot more. It's basically moving away from dieting and into the clinical use of bacteria for mental health. It's eating to stay sane, not just to look good.
Therapy begins with the plate, as they say.
That's the mantra. And the protocol is actually pretty simple. It's a two-step process.
Right.
You seed the rainforest, and then you fertilize it.
Seeding is fermented foods, kimchi, that sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kimchi, sauerkraut, kefir, they're delivery vehicles for the live cultures, for the good guys we just talked about. You're basically dropping reinforcements behind enemy lines.
And the fertilizer.
Fiber, specifically prebiotic fiber, onions, garlic, oats, legumes. The peacekeeper bacteria eat this stuff. If you don't feed them, they die. Or worse.
Worse.
They start eating the mucus lining of your gut to survive, which causes all sorts of inflammation.
That is a horrifying thought. Feed us or we eat the walls.
It's biological reality.
Yeah.
But just as important as what you don't eat. The research is brutal on artificial sweeteners and ultra-processed fats.
The mood killers.
They're devastating. Artificial sweeteners confuse the microbiome, they cause diversity to plummet, and the processed fats are like rocket fuel for those inflammatory bacteria we mentioned.
It's fascinating because we've always known junk food is bad, but we think of weight gain or heart disease. We don't really think this diet soda might give me a panic attack on Tuesday.
That direct connection is what's new, and it's changing medicine. One of the reports mentioned new psychiatric screening tools. They're starting to assess gut health metrics right alongside psychological evaluations.
So it's not just how is your childhood, it's also how's your microbiome.
Because the data is just undeniable. Which brings us to resilience. The studies from Oxford and Kyoto, they were looking at emotional flexibility.
You mean how fast you bounce back from something bad?
Exactly. Stress happens. Life is going to hit you. The question is, how long do you stay down? And the research shows a diverse gut microbiome acts like a biological shock absorber.
A buffer.
A perfect word for it. When you have that rich, diverse rainforest, your body processes stress hormones like cortisol much, much faster. You return to your baseline quicker. If your gut is a wasteland, the stress hits and it just sticks. You spiral.
So resilience isn't just a mindset, it's a biological resource you can actually build.
You can cultivate it, and this is so critical when we look at child development. They're finding that early imbalances from C-sections, heavy antibiotic use as a toddler, can be a precursor to things like ADHD and anxiety disorders.
Because the brain is being built while the outpost is already sending faulty data from day one.
Exactly. The brain wires itself for hypervigilance. It builds a security state instead of a library.
Wow, okay, this is a lot. But I want to spend our last few minutes on the part of the research that honestly messed with my head a little, the part you called the big question.
Ah, yes. The philosophical rabbit hole.
Calling it a rabbit hole is putting it mildly. It's an existential crisis. Because if these bacteria are pulling the levers on my mood and my anxiety, it leads to a really uncomfortable question.
Who is actually in charge?
Right. Am I me? Or am I just a very sophisticated vehicle for 1 trillion microbes?
The question of autonomy. Let's make it concrete. Cravings.
Okay, it's 9 p.m., I'm on the couch, and I get this overwhelming, desperate need for a donut. I feel like I want that donut.
You feel that, yes. You identify the desire as your own. But what's happening biologically, if you have an overgrowth of, say, a yeast colony in your gut, they're starving. They need sugar.
Oh no.
So they release chemicals that travel right up the vagus nerve and essentially hijack the reward centers in your brain. They're ringing the dinner bell.
It's more than that, isn't it? They're manipulating my brain chemistry to make me restless and unsatisfied until I give them what they want.
That's precisely what they're doing. So that thought, I need a donut, might not be your thought at all. It might be a bacterial demand wearing the disguise of your inner voice.
The self isn't a monologue. It's a committee meeting, and most of the committee members are germs.
And you didn't even choose them. That's the thing. You didn't choose your initial microbiome. You didn't choose to get that ear infection when you were 5 that required antibiotics. But those events shape the population in your rainforest, which now shapes the chemical reality your brain lives in every single day.
It sounds so deterministic, like we're just puppets.
It can feel that way, but the research argues for a more empowering view.
Okay, I could use that right now.
It's the gardener mindset.
Yeah.
If you accept you're an ecosystem, not a single entity, then your job isn't to control your mind with willpower. Your job is to tend the garden.
You can't think your way out of it, but you can change the soil conditions.
Exactly. You have agency. You can starve the bad guys by cutting their fuel supply. You can fertilize the good guys by eating fiber and kimchi. You can fundamentally change who has a voice on the committee.
That actually is really hopeful. It shifts the problem from I'm a broken person to my garden is a bit of a mess right now.
Yes. It separates your identity from the symptom. When you feel that anxiety, you can stop blaming your character and start asking, okay, the outpost is noisy today. What do the peacekeepers need?
It makes "you are what you eat" the most literal phrase in biology.
Every meal is a vote. You are casting a ballot for the kind of internal world you want. Do you want a riot or do you want a symphony?
A symphony, I think we all want the symphony.
Well, you have to pay the musicians. And it turns out the musicians really like sauerkraut.
I can live with that. A small price to pay for a quiet vagus nerve. This has been a huge reframing of, well, everything. But here is where things take a sharp turn. I thought bacteria controlling our thoughts was the peak for today, but this next fact, it changed my entire perspective on something we all assume is solid reality. If you thought that was an outlier, wait until you hear this next one. Fact number 8 is where things get truly interesting. We are moving deeper into our countdown. Let's dive into fact number 8.
And honestly, this is the one where the rubber meets the road. I think for a huge portion of our listeners, this isn't just a fact, it's a daily diagnosis.
We are calling this fact number 8 the wired but tired loop. And I have to say, looking at the research stack we have, this goes way beyond just needing an extra shot of espresso.
Oh, way beyond.
We are looking at a fundamental physiological glitch that is plaguing, well, almost everyone I know.
It really is the defining paradox of the modern nervous system. You have this situation where the body is physically exhausted, dragging, heavy, depleted, but the mind is just, it's hyper-aroused.
You're desperate for sleep, but your brain is racing at 100 miles an hour.
Exactly.
It's that horrible contradiction. The sources described it as a shift from episodic stress to continuous tension. I want to unpack that because I think most of us just assume stress is stress, you know?
Right, like it's all one thing, but there is a massive biological difference. If we look at human history, and 99% of our evolutionary timeline stress was a sprint.
A sprint.
It was episodic. You see a predator, a rival tribe, or, a falling tree. You react. It's intense. It's high cortisol. But crucially, it is over in minutes.
Right. You either get eaten by the tiger or you escape the tiger. But either way, the event ends.
Precisely. And assuming you survived, you then entered a long period of recovery. That's the parasympathetic activation, the rest and digest phase. Your heart rate drops, digestion restarts, your body repairs itself.
But the argument here is that modern life has effectively deleted that recovery phase. We've replaced the singular tiger with a swarm of mosquitoes.
That is a perfect way to put it. We've replaced the life or death threat with 10,000 micro-stressors. Emails, Slack pings, breaking news alerts.
Any text message you forgot to reply to.
All of it. The intensity of each one is lower than a tiger attack, sure, but the duration is infinite. We are simmering in a low-grade fight-or-flight response that just never actually turns off.
And that simmering is the wired part of the equation. It's like the engine is idling at 6,000 RPMs, even though the car is parked in the driveway.
Which inevitably leads to the tired part, because running that engine at high RPMs burns a tremendous amount of metabolic resources.
Yeah.
The data we reviewed shows that even people who say they're, busy but fine.
The high achievers, yeah.
The ones who think they're managing it all.
Yeah.
They're showing signs of severe erosion.
And we're talking about physiological markers here, right? Not just feeling tired.
Correct. We're talking elevated cortisol levels in the evening, decreased heart rate variability, the erosion of emotional regulation. They're literally eroding from the inside out while telling everyone, I'm good, just busy.
I want to get into the mechanics of this because the analogy the researchers use, the ancient security system, that really clarified for me why the biology is failing us.
It's the perfect visualization. I want you to imagine your nervous system is like a top-of-the-line security system. but it's installed in an incredibly old, drafty, ancient house.
Okay, I'm picturing it. Creaky floorboards, big dark hallways, maybe a storm outside.
Right. Now, this system was designed and evolved to detect rare, life-threatening events. It's got motion sensors, glass break detectors, the works. Its job is to spot the major threats.
The predator in the bushes, the massive storm.
Exactly. Big, obvious physical dangers. And when those happen, the alarm blares. The floodlights kick on. The sympathetic nervous system just floods the body with adrenaline. It's expensive, energy-wise, but it keeps you alive.
But in our world, we've taken that same sensitive system and dropped it into an environment where the sensors are tripping every 30 seconds.
And here's the glitch. The system cannot differentiate. That is the absolute crux of the issue. To your amygdala, the brain's threat detector, a tiger, and an urgent email subject line look remarkably similar.
Wow.
They're both incoming signals that demand immediate attention.
So the delivery guy, the mailman, a leaf blowing across the porch, they're all setting off the same red alert siren.
Precisely. The system can't tell the difference between a predator and a ping. So you end up living in a state of permanent yellow alert. You aren't in full panic mode, but the security guard in your brain never sits down.
He's just standing at the monitors, watching the lights flicker, hand hovering over the panic button.
All day long. And just maintaining that vigilance is exhausting. That explains the physical tiredness. You can sit in a chair for 10 hours, barely moving, and come home feeling like you ran a marathon.
Because you literally burned your daily energy budget just managing the anxiety of all those little alarms.
It's a massive metabolic cost. They call it allostatic load. It's the wear and tear on the body. And physiologically, this blocks the parasympathetic system from taking over.
Yeah.
You can't digest properly, you can't repair tissue, and you definitely can't sleep while the alarm is ringing.
It's like trying to do yoga in a house where the smoke detector is chirping every single minute. You might be lying on the mat, but you are not relaxing.
Not at all.
But I want to pivot to what this does to the brain specifically, because the source material went deep into the prefrontal cortex, and that's where I started to see my own bad habits reflected in the science.
The prefrontal cortex is the CEO of the brain. It's the part responsible for planning, high-level decision-making, and, crucially, impulse control.
The part that tells me not to eat the entire bag of chips, or to actually finish my report instead of checking social media.
That's the one.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about the PFC. It is an energy hog. Extremely resource intensive. It runs on glucose. And the research highlights a concept called switching costs that is absolutely killing our brain power.
This is the multitasking myth, right? We think we're so good at doing 3 things at once.
We're terrible at it. I mean, truly terrible. We aren't doing 3 things at once. We are rapidly toggling between them. And every time you switch from a report to a text message back to the report over to our browser tab, you're forcing the PFC to dump one context and load another.
It feels instantaneous, though. It really does. It feels like I'm just flowing.
It feels instant, but biologically, it's a heavy lift. It's like closing a heavy book and opening a new one over and over and over. This just torches your glucose supply. So by 2:00 p.m., you haven't just lost focus, you've physically depleted the fuel for your decision-making center.
Which brings us to that smartphone battery analogy from the reading. This one terrified me because it was just so accurate. It argues we've completely broken our own charging cycle.
It's a perfect analogy. Think about how a battery works best. It likes a beep discharge and a full recharge. You use it all day, plug it in at night, you get back to 100%. Simple.
But the wired but tired loop keeps us hovering in this weird middle ground.
Right. We're treating our brains like a phone that we keep perpetually at, say, 40%. You never let it hit 0, which would be true relaxation or boredom or just staring at a wall, but you never get back to 100% because you're constantly topping up with low-quality rest.
And low-quality rest here isn't sleep. It's what we do on the couch, right? The second screening.
Exactly. You're sitting there maybe watching a show, but you're also scrolling on your phone. The screen dims, but the background apps are still running. The anxiety loops, the unfinished to-do lists, all that comparison on social media. You aren't charging, you're just draining slower.
So you start the next day at maybe 60% capacity, and that becomes your new full. We are normalizing a degraded baseline where we just assume that being slightly foggy and irritable is what it means to be an adult.
That's the real danger. The research shows this state mimics chronic stress exposure. And the biggest casualty of that, and we have to talk about this, is our sleep architecture.
I always just assumed sleep was a victim of bad timing. You know, we stay up too late scrolling. But it's more specific than that. It's not just the hours, it's the type of sleep we're getting or not getting. staggering.
Well, if your nervous system is stuck in that sympathetic yellow alert, it will physically prevent you from entering deep, slow-wave sleep. It's a survival mechanism. If your brain thinks there's a tiger nearby, it does not want you in a coma-like sleep.
It wants you to be able to wake up fast, so it keeps you in the shallows. You're unconscious, but you aren't really shutting down.
Exactly. You get less REM, less physical repair. You wake up feeling like you haven't slept at all. And this leads to that behavioral trap the sources called revenge bedtime procrastination.
I feel so attacked by that term. But it's so real. It's that moment. 11 p.m., you're exhausted, your eyes are burning, but you just refuse to go to sleep. You stay up scrolling for no reason.
It's a cruel irony. Your prefrontal cortex is too exhausted to enforce discipline, so you can't make yourself go to bed. But you're too wired to actually sleep, so you seek out low-effort dopamine. You're looking for a reward.
Doom scrolling. Watching videos you don't even like. It's passive consumption as a kind of sedative.
And that input just keeps the alarm system triggered, ensuring the cycle repeats the next day. Researchers are starting to use terms like information fatigue syndrome, or even the colloquial brain rot, to describe the cognitive aftermath.
Brain rot feels aggressive, but the symptoms track. The sources described it as the inability to read deep text. You just start skimming everything.
Yes, shallow processing. Your brain stops trying to encode memory because the fire hose is just spraying too hard. It's just trying to deflect the water, not drink it.
And then there's the phantom vibration syndrome. I honestly thought this was a joke until I saw the data in our stack.
It is very real, and it's technically a hallucination. Just think about that for a second. Your nervous system is so hyper-tuned to expect a digital stimulus that when it doesn't get one, it just generates the sensation on its own.
That is so disturbing. We are literally haunting ourselves with digital ghosts because our nerves are just that shot.
It's the ultimate sign of a system that has lost its baseline. It's detecting signals that aren't even there.
I thought the biology was intense, but here's where things take a sharp turn that changed my entire perspective on modern life.
I have a feeling I know where you're going with this. You're thinking about the evolutionary implications.
We have to ask the big question, right? Is this just a bad habit we can life hack our way out of, or have we fundamentally broken the environment we evolved for?
The evidence strongly suggests the latter. We are operating with Stone Age hardware in a space-age world. Biology takes tens of thousands of years to adapt. Our sensory reality changes, every 18 months?
We're the subjects of a massive, uncontrolled neurological experiment.
And we're raising the first generation in history whose baseline state is wired but tired. We have to consider what happens to a developing brain that has never known true silence. A brain that has never, ever known true boredom.
That's the part that sticks with me, the rewired expectations. It's not just that the phone is distracting, it's that the absence of the phone now feels dangerous.
Exactly. Silence has become a threat signal. If the security system is programmed to expect constant input, then a sudden drop in input triggers a "why is it so quiet?" alarm. In nature, sudden silence often meant a predator was close.
But in the digital world, silence just means you put your phone down. The brain, though, interprets it as something is wrong.
So peace causes anxiety. That's a heavy realization. We've conditioned ourselves to be allergic to our own recovery. Recovery feels unnatural because the brain has adapted to chaos.
But the sources don't leave us there, and I don't want to leave our listeners there either. They argue we can manually override the system, but it requires more than just willpower.
Willpower is useless against biology. You have to re-engineer the environment. The key concept they propose is creating off-ramps.
I love that imagery. We're speeding down the information superhighway, and we just keep driving. An off-ramp is a structural exit.
It's a change of state. We had to send a clear physical signal to the nervous system that says, the tiger is gone, you are safe, stand down, and you cannot do that while holding a phone.
So checking Instagram for 5 minutes doesn't count as a break. That's just changing lanes on the highway.
Correct. That is still input. An off-ramp has to be a reduction in input. It has to be analog.
Give some examples. What actually works to shut off the alarm?
One of the most effective methods mentioned is using your visual system. Taking a device-free walk where you let your eyes engage in panoramic vision, looking at the horizon, softening your gaze. This actually triggers a relaxation response in the brainstem.
So staring at a screen tunnels our vision and spikes stress, while widening our view calms us down.
That's it. Another one is breath work, specifically extending the exhale. When you inhale, you activate the sympathetic system slightly. When you exhale, you activate the parasympathetic. So breathing where the exhale is twice as long as the inhale manually overrides the alarm.
It's using the body to calm the brain instead of trying to think your way out of stress.
You have to force the reset. And the sources emphasize this needs to be consistent. It's not about a digital detox once a year. It's about daily downregulation.
Recalibrating that baseline.
If you do this every day, you teach the brain that calm is a safe place to be. You slowly convince that security guard he can finally sit down and take a break.
It's interesting that the material frames this not just as wellness, which can sound a little soft, but as a real performance strategy.
It's a massive competitive advantage.
Yeah.
I mean, look around. If everyone else is fried, reactive, and operating at 40% battery, imagine the person who isn't.
The person who can disconnect, recharge to 100%, and come back with deep focus.
That person is unmatched. They have better emotional regulation, deeper insight, more cognitive stamina. In a world that values attention, the ability to protect your attention is a superpower.
So the ability to disconnect is the new super strength.
We have to stop viewing recovery as laziness. That's the old mindset. Recovery is non-negotiable maintenance. You would not drive a Formula One car for 500 miles without changing the tires. You would destroy the engine.
And you can't run a high-performance brain without those off-ramps. We have to choose to be less connected just to survive our own tools.
That's the bottom line. We have to assert our biology over our technology. We have to be the ones to decide when the alarm goes off.
Now let's take a second to process that. If that's possible, then the next revelation shouldn't surprise us, and yet it's one of the most debated mysteries in science. Shifting gears to fact number 7. Let's keep moving deeper into our countdown. Let's dive into fact number 7.
So this is a big one.
Yeah.
We're looking at a technological leap that effectively redefines the resolution of human identity.
Yeah.
We're talking about the 7 Tesla precision scanner.
The 7T. I've been reading through the briefing on this, and honestly, calling it an upgrade from a standard MRI seems like a massive understatement.
Absolutely.
It feels more like the difference between, I don't know, a rough sketch and a high-definition photograph.
That's a really fair comparison.
Yeah.
I mean, to set the baseline, the standard MRI you'd find in most hospitals operates at 1.5 or maybe 3 Tesla. That's the magnetic field strength.
Okay.
The 7 Tesla is, well, it's operating at a field strength that's 7 times that of the Earth's own magnetic pole.
Which is just a staggering amount of power. I read that the field is intense enough to physically align the iron atoms in your blood.
It is. And that intensity is the key.
Right.
In magnetic resonance imaging, signal is everything. You're always battling noise, biological noise, electronic noise. By ramping the field up to 7 Tesla, you get this massive boost in what's called the signal-to-noise ratio and a high SNR. That's what buys you resolution.
Right, because with the standard 3T scanners, we've been operating with what the sources call rough blobs of activation. It's that classic fMRI image we've all seen. You know, look, the amygdala is lighting up. But the sources for this deep dive argue that just saying something is lighting up is actually a pretty useless metric when you're trying to treat complex disorders.
It's a blunt instrument. The analogy the researchers use, and I think this holds up really well, is the city from space. So imagine you're in orbit looking down at a huge city at night.
Okay, so with the old 3T tech, I'm seeing the boroughs. I can see that Manhattan is brighter than the Atlantic Ocean, for instance.
Exactly. You see the glow of the financial district, you know activity is happening there, but you have no idea what that activity is.
Is it a riot? Is it a festival?
Right. Or is it just traffic? You just know the area is on.
And the 7T acts as the zoom lens.
A radical zoom. Suddenly you aren't looking at the borough, you're resolving individual streets, you can see specific buildings. In some cases, you're peering into specific rooms.
Wow.
You can see the traffic patterns, not just that cars are there, but the direction they're moving and where the bottlenecks are.
That distinction, seeing the direction of the traffic, that seems to be the crux of why this matters for medicine. It's not just about anatomy, it's about connectivity.
The connectivity is the game changer. One of the most striking examples in the data is the locus coeruleus.
The grain of rice, that's what they called it.
The grain of rice. It's this tiny tubular cluster of neurons deep in the brainstem. And for decades, it was effectively a ghost on MRI scans. It's just too small.
And it's buried deep, right? So it's hard to get a clean signal.
Exactly. It's in an area prone to all these distortions from the bone and tissue. The 3T scanners just couldn't resolve it clearly against all that background noise.
Which is wild, considering how important this thing is. The locus coeruleus is basically the norepinephrine factory for the brain, isn't it? It controls arousal, attention.
Fight or flight. It's the master switch for the entire autonomic nervous system's alert level.
And we couldn't even see it properly.
We couldn't. With the 7T, for the first time, we aren't just inferring its activity, We can image it directly. We can literally watch a signal cascade start in that tiny grain of rice, shoot up to the amygdala, and then fan out across the cortex.
And this is where the city analogy gets personal, because the source material highlights that this cascade, it doesn't look the same for everyone.
It's a neural fingerprint, and this explains so much about, human variability. If you and I are standing on a street corner and a car backfires.
Okay, same loud noise.
Right, same input. But if we scan us both at 7T, my city might light up in a way that processes the sound, identifies it as harmless, and suppresses the alert in seconds.
Whereas your city might route that signal straight from the locus coeruleus to the fear centers and just keep it looping there.
And keep it looping, exactly.
So on the outside, I might jump and look scared, and you might just blink. But internally, the architecture of that reaction is fundamentally different.
And that architecture was invisible to us until now. We just saw fear center active for both of us. Now we see the specific traffic route that signal took. It validates that subjective experience. How you feel the world is rooted in these microstructural differences.
It's fascinating. It moves psychology away from how you cope to how you are built. But here is where things take a sharp turn.
The implications for chronic pain.
Yeah. This section of the research was heavy. We've historically treated pain as this simple inputs and output system. Tissue damage equals pain signal equals ouch. But the 7T data is showing something much more symphonic.
That's the term they use, the symphony of pain. If you stick with the 3T scanner the old way, it's like standing outside a concert hall listening through a brick wall.
You hear the thumping bass, the band is playing, but that's about it.
The orchestra's active. You might even be able to tell if the song is fast or slow, happy or sad. But you cannot hear the individual instruments.
You can't tell if the violin is slightly out of tune or if the percussion is lagging.
Exactly. And the 7T puts you in the front row.
No, it puts you on the conductor's podium.
Right. You can hear the conversation between the nuclei. And this is crucial. Pain isn't just a signal traveling up a wire. It's a dynamic negotiation. You have the spinal cord, the brainstem, the thalamus, and the cortex all talking to each other.
The negotiation aspect is what really struck me. The idea that the brainstem can choose to amplify that pain signal or dampen it before it even reaches your conscious awareness.
And here is the dark side of that negotiation. The 7T scans have revealed that the nervous system creates what we might call maladaptive plasticity.
Which is a fancy way of saying the brain learns to be in pain.
Essentially, yes. If you have chronic pain, the orchestra practices that pain symphony over and over again. The connections between these specific nuclei, say the thalamus and the somatosensory cortex, they become reinforced. They get more efficient at transmitting the pain data.
So the wiring physically changes to become better at hurting.
That's the tragedy of it. The structural connectivity alters. You aren't imagining the pain. Your brain has literally optimized itself to produce it.
Wow.
And this is why you can heal the tissue damage in your back or your knee, but the pain persists. The city has built a superhighway for that specific traffic, and the cars keep driving on it even after the original roadblock is gone.
That is incredibly validating for patients, though. I mean, how many people with chronic pain get told it's psychosomatic or that they just need to push through?
So many.
This provides an anatomical receipt that says, no, the network is physically different.
It shifts the blame from the person to the mechanism. It's not a character flaw. It's a circuit loop. And we see this same paradigm shift happening in the way 7T handles anxiety and depression.
This leads us right into precision psychiatry. I feel like anxiety is one of those words that has lost a lot of its meaning because we apply it to everything.
It's a bucket term.
Nervous for a test? Anxiety. Panic attack? Anxiety. Existential dread? Anxiety.
It's a catch-all. And because it's a bucket term, our treatments are bucket treatments. It's here, take this SSRI. It raises serotonin levels globally.
Spray and pray.
Basically. But the 7T is allowing us to deconstruct that bucket. The sources describe distinctly different neural signatures that all result in the symptom we call anxiety.
They gave two really clear examples of this, the body alarm versus the worry loop.
And this distinction is critical. So take patient A. Their anxiety is driven by that grain of rice structure we talked about, the locus coeruleus and the brainstem.
So it's a bottom-up fire.
A bottom-up fire. Their heart races, they sweat, they feel a physical sense of doom. Their cortex, the thinking brain, is actually fine, but it's being bombarded by alarm signals from the basement.
Okay, so contrast that with patient B.
Patient B has a calm brainstem. Their heart rate is normal, but they have a hyper-connected loop between their prefrontal cortex and the anterior cingulate.
It's a rumination loop.
They are ruminating. They are lying in bed at 3 a.m., replaying a conversation from 2014. It's a top-down anxiety.
And in the current medical model, both of those people might walk out of a clinic with the exact same prescription.
Which is why the failure rate for first-line psychiatric meds is so high. You're trying to fix a software loop in the cortex with a drug that targets the whole system, or vice versa.
But precision psychiatry says if we can image the specific circuit,
We can target the treatment. So patient A might get a beta blocker to calm the autonomic system, and patient B might get CBT or neuromodulation to break that cortical loop.
you treat the wiring, not the label.
It's the difference between a mechanic listening to a rattling noise and guessing it's the transmission, versus opening the hood and seeing a loose bolt on the alternator.
It sounds like the future we've been promised for 50 years. But, and you knew there was a but coming, the source material gets remarkably philosophical here. There is an entire section dedicated to the visible self.
It's the unavoidable question, isn't it? If we can see the machinery of the self in this much detail, what happens to our concept of who we are?
Well, the compassionate reframing idea is lovely. The idea that my anxiety isn't a weakness, it's just that my amygdala is wired for high sensitivity. That's the good side.
Right.
But the flip side is, if it's just wiring, am I really making choices?
This is the challenge to free will. If I can look at a 7T scan and see a specific connectivity pattern in your reward system that correlates with addiction, or a pattern in your limbic system that correlates with aggression, to what extent are you the driver of that vehicle?
Or are you just the passenger in a car built by your genetics and your environment?
The source compares this risk to a high-tech version of humoral theory. You know, the medieval idea that you were melancholy because you had too much black bile.
Right. Balance the humors, fix the person.
Except now, instead of bile, we're talking about dampening the amygdala circuit or boosting the prefrontal connection. The danger lies in deciding what a healthy map looks like.
That's the part that worries me. Who defines the standard? If I have a brain that is hypervigilant, yeah, that causes me anxiety. But maybe that same circuit makes me an incredible crisis manager or a detailed artist. If we smooth out the flaw, do we lose the talent?
That is the risk of medicalizing personality. We might look at natural human variation, introversion, high sensitivity, emotional volatility, and classify them as circuit errors that need to be corrected.
It's the Gattaca problem, but for personality.
The scan doesn't judge, it just reveals. But humans judge. If we establish a normal brain template, there will be immense pressure to conform to it.
Oh, you're feeling sad. Your scan shows your anterior cingulate is underactive. Let's zap that back to normal.
We risk sanitizing the human experience.
We risk engineering a society of people who are perfectly regulated, perfectly calm, and completely devoid of the friction that makes life interesting.
It raises the question, is the goal of life to be chemically balanced and efficient? Or is this struggle with our own wiring part of what produces character? The 7T doesn't answer that. It just gives us the map.
It's strange to think about looking at a picture of your own mind. I mean, truly, if I showed you a high-res photo of your face, you'd say, that's me. But if I show you a high-res map of your neural connectivity,
You are looking at the ghost in the machine. You are seeing the physical mechanism that produces the thought, that is me. It's a strange loop. It creates this cognitive dissonance. We feel like spirits or souls, but the deeper we look with these machines, the more we look like incredibly complex biological clocks.
complex, messy, beautiful clocks.
And very specifically tuned ones. I think that's the takeaway. We aren't generic. The 7T proves that down to the micron. Your anxiety, your joy, your pain, it has a unique shape. It has a fingerprint.
So we are readable, we are mappable, and soon we might be editable.
Which is a power we probably aren't ethically ready for, even if the technology is ready for us.
Well, on that existential cliffhanger, I think we need to pause. It's clear that seeing the brain is one thing. Understanding the person inside it is something else entirely.
The map is not the territory, as they say. But the map is getting terrifyingly good.
We're halfway through, and a pattern is starting to emerge. But fact number 6 pulls back the curtain on a secret that most people walk past every single day without ever noticing.
And here we are, one step closer to fact number 1. Let's dive into fact number 6.
Okay, so this one is, it's often called the choice overload glitch.
The choice overload glitch.
Yeah, and I have to say, out of everything we've looked at, this is the concept that it really forces you to stop and reevaluate why you feel the way you feel at, say, 4 p.m. on a Tuesday.
I have to stop you on the title, though. The glitch. It sounds like something from tech support.
Right.
Usually we talk about being overwhelmed or, indecisive, and we frame it as a personal failing. We call it being flaky or lacking willpower.
That's the standard narrative, absolutely. We treat it like a software problem, a bug in your character.
Right, something you need to fix about yourself.
But the source material we're looking at today it's adamant. This is not software. This is a hardware problem.
Hardware problem.
It's a fundamental biological mismatch between the machinery we evolved with and the environment we've built.
A mismatch how? Like we're trying to run modern apps on a computer from 1995.
That's a great way to put it, actually.
Yeah.
We're forcing a biological system that was designed to handle maybe a few dozen survival choices a day to process tens of thousands of abstract inputs all at once. And the result isn't just that we get a little annoyed. The result is a full-on physiological system crash.
I want to dig into that crash because the sources describe something very, very specific. It's not just feeling tired.
Right.
I haven't been digging ditches, but there's this distinct sensation.
Exactly. It's not muscle fatigue. It's a heaviness behind the eyes. The source material describes it as a mental fog, where cognitive movement feels like running through waist-deep water.
That image, that really stuck with me.
Yeah.
Because when you run through air, you just move. You don't think about it.
Right, it's frictionless.
But running through water, every single step is a conscious effort. You have to actively push against the medium itself.
And that's exactly what decision fatigue does to the brain. It increases the viscosity of thought. And to understand why, we have to look at the anatomy. We have to talk about the prefrontal cortex, the PFC.
The so-called CEO of the brain. I've always found that title a bit vague, though. What is it actually doing that makes it so prone to this water feeling?
Well, it's doing all the executive functions. Planning, self-control, and crucially, weighing options. But the key takeaway from the biology is that the PFC is what they call metabolically expensive tissue.
Expensive? In what way?
In terms of glucose and oxygen, it's a gas guzzler. In the grand scheme of evolution, the PFC is a pretty new, high-performance upgrade.
Like putting a Ferrari engine in a Honda Civic.
Exactly. It's powerful, but it burns through the tank incredibly fast. And the terrifying thing the source material points out is that every single decision costs fuel from this limited tank.
See, that's where my understanding always fell short. I assume decisions means the big stuff. Should I take this job? Should I sign this mortgage?
If only. To the PFC, a decision is a decision, the metabolic cost. It doesn't distinguish between, should I marry this person, and should I eat an apple or a cookie?
What about something like a notification?
That's the big one. Should I click this notification?
So wait, even ignoring something is a decision.
Absolutely. In fact, inhibiting an impulse, deciding not to do something, is one of the most expensive things you can ask your brain to do. Every time your phone buzzes and you force yourself not to look, you're burning a little surge of glucose.
So we're just nickeling and diming our cognitive energy to death before we even get to lunch. We're leaking fuel on things that don't even matter.
That's the death by 1,000 cuts. And when those resources get low, we enter decision fatigue. This is where the behavior really starts to change.
It doesn't just stop working.
No, the brain's smarter than that. It doesn't shut down. It switches strategies. It moves from high-effort, careful processing to low-effort reactivity.
Which brings us to that visual analogy in the text, which I thought was just brilliant for understanding this degradation. The master chef versus the line cook.
It's such a great way to map the decline, isn't it? It takes all that abstract neuroscience and puts it right in a kitchen.
So let's set the scene. It's 9 a.m., my glucose is high, my PFC is fully charged. Who's in the kitchen?
At 9 a.m., you have a Michelin star master chef in your brain. Precision, perfect judgment, long-term strategy. The chef is thinking about nutrition, flavor, presentation.
Making smart, strategic decisions about the day ahead.
Yes. But then the dinner rush starts. The emails, the Slack messages, the news alerts.
The quick questions from colleagues.
The tickets just start flying out of the printer. And unlike a real restaurant, this rush never, ever stops.
So the master chef starts getting worn down.
Right. By 2 p.m., maybe the plating isn't quite as pretty. We're not measuring the spices anymore. We're just eyeballing it.
And by 7 p.m.
By 7 p.m., the master chef has walked out the back door. He's gone. The only person left is a frantic, sweaty line cook who is just trying to get food on the plate so people stop yelling.
I think we've all been that line cook, just slinging hash to survive.
The line cook doesn't care about quality. He cares about volume and speed. Deep fry it, send it out, and that explains why you can be a disciplined professional all day. And then at 8 p.m., you eat an entire bag of chips while doom scrolling. The line cook is in charge.
Or why that simple question, what do you want for dinner, can trigger an absolute meltdown.
Oh, it's a divorce-level question.
But it makes sense now. You're not snapping at your partner because you're a bad person.
No.
You're snapping because the master chef has left, and the line cook does not have the biological hardware online to process one more open-ended ticket.
Precisely. We moralize this exhaustion. We feel guilty. But we need to biologize it. You're asking a system to perform a function it simply lacks the fuel for.
Okay, so the source material then pivots to some very new research papers from 2024, 2025 on effort-based decision-making. This seems to go deeper than just running out of gas.
It does. This is a fascinating development. We used to think fatigue was just a lack of energy, like a car running out. But this new data suggests it's actually a recalibration of how the brain calculates value.
A recalibration? How can you even measure that in a lab?
Well, researchers can track something called the P300 amplitude. It's an electrical spike in the brain, basically, that shows how much conscious attention you're paying to the consequences of your actions.
And I'm guessing when we're decision fatigued, that spike flattens out.
It crashes. The P300 amplitude drops significantly. The brain literally stops caring about later and only cares about now. But the 2024 findings added this really unsettling twist.
Okay.
They found that sustained mental work increases the subjective cost of more effort.
Subjective cost.
Yeah.
So the task isn't actually harder, but it feels a lot harder.
Exactly. Objectively, answering one more email takes 30 seconds. But the connectivity between the part of your brain that says, let's do this, the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, and the insula changes.
And the insula is the part that monitors your body's internal state, right?
How you feel.
It's the internal alarm system. And when you're fatigued, the insula starts screaming at the PFC. It distorts reality. It tells you that email doesn't cost 5 units of energy, it costs 500. It's a mountain. Do not climb it. That is the procrastination loop right there. You're staring at a simple task, you know it's simple, but it feels like climbing Everest. Your own brain is lying to you.
It's an evolutionary brake pedal designed to conserve energy. And in nature, that makes perfect sense. If your body says stop, you should stop. Sit under a tree.
But here's where things take a sharp turn.
We don't live in nature.
We live in the digital amplifier.
Exactly. We've built an environment that is uniquely hostile to this biological limit. We don't sit under trees. We pull out these little infinite decision-generating machines.
The source calls them micro-choices. And I think this is the part people miss. They think, oh, I'm just relaxing on my phone.
But you're not relaxing. Every time you glance at a feed, you're making dozens of split-second decisions. Click or scroll, reply or ignore, like this, pass on that. Is this news even real? It's rapid-fire cognitive load.
And the really scary part is that these tiny, trivial decisions, they draw from the exact same fuel tank as your empathy and your patience.
That's the critical insight. There's no separate social media fuel tank. It's all one reservoir. So if you spend 40% of your glucose filtering noise on Twitter, you have 40% less available to be patient with your kids.
The source mentions emotional withdrawal as a primary symptom. That hit me hard.
It should. We think of empathy as a heart thing, like this infinite resource that good people just have. But empathy is cognitively expensive. It's heavy lifting for the PFC.
So when the battery dies, we don't just get tired, we become transactional.
We lose our nuance. We lose our humanity. We treat people like objects or obstacles because processing them as complex individuals costs way too much energy.
And then we misdiagnose it. We call it burnout or depression, or we say we're falling out of love.
When really you're just depleted. The master chef has left the building, and you can't be an empathetic partner when you're the line cook just trying to survive the dinner rush. It's not a lack of love, it's a lack of glucose.
This all leads to this bigger, more philosophical idea in the text. The paradox of freedom. We're raised to believe that more choice always equals more freedom.
It's the great consumer illusion, isn't it? We're told that 50 brands of toothpaste and 10,000 shows on Netflix, that this is the peak of liberty.
But the neuroscience suggests that's wrong.
It suggests that beyond a certain threshold, choice stops being freedom and starts being a cage.
Because we become data processors instead of actual participants in our own lives?
Think about it. If you spend your entire evening filtering through 99% of the junk on a streaming service just to find the one thing you want to watch, you haven't exercised freedom. You've just performed unpaid data entry for a corporation's database.
I am not a free man. I am a data filter. That's a very bleak way to put it, but it feels true.
The source compares this to our ancestors. Someone living 500 years ago had very few choices, right? Life path was set, food was local.
We look at that and think how restrictive.
But their minds were likely freer in a very specific sense. They weren't spending 40% of their brain power trying to decide between mint shell and whitening paste.
Their PFC had downtime.
So they had the bandwidth to focus on what actually mattered: craft, relationships, meaning because they weren't drowning in tiny decisions.
So the argument is that true freedom in this modern age might actually be measured by the amount of mental clarity you can preserve, not by the number of options you have.
I think that's the new definition of luxury, a quiet mind.
Okay, so if the environment is hostile and our biology is fixed, the only thing we can change is our behavior. The source calls this aggressive simplification.
And I love that word, aggressive. It implies this is a fight. The world will not simplify itself for you. You have to actively, aggressively fight to remove choices from your life.
So what does that actually look like? What are the tactics here?
It starts with pre-deciding. You see this with high performers like Steve Jobs or Barack Obama, who famously wore the same thing every day.
Which always gets framed as some kind of style quirk or personal branding.
But it's a fuel conservation strategy. If I wear the same thing, that's one decision I don't have to make. If I eat the same breakfast, that's another. If I only check email twice a day, I save hundreds of little inhibition costs.
The idea of using a checklist was another one. It sounds so rigid, but the source frames it as emotional self-defense.
It is, because improvisation is expensive. Following a script is cheap. A checklist puts your brain on a healthy autopilot, preserving the master chef for the work that actually requires creativity and thought.
It's about hoarding that precious energy for the things that bring you joy, instead of just spinning it all on survival.
That's the goal. You protect the PFC so you can use it on what you love.
Before we wrap up, we have to talk about the final implication. The so what? The source ends with this really unsettling discussion on cognitive inequality.
This is the part that keeps me up at night. If we accept that decision-making is a finite biological resource, then we have to ask who gets to preserve it and who is forced to burn it.
The divide isn't just about money in the bank. It's about fuel in the brain tank.
Look at the extremely wealthy. What is the ultimate luxury they buy? It's not cars, it's decision removal.
They outsource all the line cook duties.
Exactly. Assistants filter their emails. Personal chefs decide on their food. Stylists handle their clothes. They have built a life where their PFC is shielded from the death by 1,000 cuts.
Which leaves their master chef fresh and ready for the big stuff. For strategy, for vision, they're literally operating with a biological advantage because they're not tired.
Meanwhile, you take a single parent working 2 jobs. They are bombarded with thousands of high-stakes survival decisions every single day. Bus schedules, food prices, childcare, rent.
Their tank is empty before they even start.
Completely. So by the time that parent has a quiet moment to make a long-term strategic decision, like going back to school, the science says they are chemically incapable of making that choice well. Not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack fuel. The choice overload glitch isn't just an inconvenience. It might be a civilizational design flaw that reinforces poverty. We're creating a world where only a select few have the cognitive bandwidth to thrive, while everyone else is just surviving the friction.
It means simplifying your life isn't just some lifestyle hack. It's a fundamental tool for survival if you want to break that cycle.
It determines who gets to be the chef and who is stuck on the line. And just recognizing that, that's the first step to reclaiming your own bandwidth.
That is a lot to process. I think I need to go automate my bills, throw out half my clothes, and apologize to my partner for last night's dinner conversation.
Start small, save the fuel.
We are entering the top 5. From here on out, every fact we cover is a complete paradigm shift. Let's look at fact number 5, the discovery that changed how we define life itself.
Our path to fact number 1 keeps going forward. Let's dive into fact number 5.
It's great to be back. And, looking at the sheer volume of research for this one, this specific fact, the somatic memory, this might be the one that fundamentally shifts how you see yourself.
I have to admit, when I first saw that title, somatic memory, my brain immediately went to sports. Muscle memory.
Right.
Like how you don't forget how to ride a bike or how a pro golfer can swing without even thinking about it. But after reading through these sources, we are not talking about your golf swing, are we?
No, we are definitely not talking about your backhand. Muscle memory, as we usually think of it, is a skill. It's your brain optimizing a function.
For efficiency.
Exactly. Somatic memory is something much, much deeper. It's really about how the body records history. And to really get this, we have to completely dismantle a metaphor we all have in our heads.
I think I know the one you mean, that our memories are like files on a computer hard drive.
Precisely. The old cognitive view. You think your brain is this perfect filing cabinet. You open the high school drawer, pull out the prom night folder.
You look at the photos, read the document, and then you just put it back.
You put it back, you close the drawer. It's a mental event. It's a story you tell yourself.
You can pull it up and put it away whenever you want.
Well, fact number 5 argues that for things like trauma, for chronic stress, for deep emotional pain, that whole file system metaphor isn't just a little off, it is completely wrong.
Okay.
The sources are really clear on this. Trauma isn't stored as a story with a neat beginning, middle, and end. It's stored as physiology.
Let's unpack that, because that was the big aha moment for me, but it's still a little abstract. When you say stored as physiology, you mean the memory is physically where?
In my arm.
In your nervous system,
Yeah.
in your muscles, in your fascia. The sources describe it not as a file you pull up, but as a living imprint. Think of it more like a frozen pattern of tension.
A way of bracing yourself.
Or a posture that just gets locked into the body's architecture. Which brings that classic phrase to mind, the book title everyone knows. The body keeps the score.
That's it, exactly. And what's really fascinating is that this happens a lot of the time without the conscious mind even being aware of it. You might not have a clear visual memory of something scary from 10 years ago.
Right, you might have forgotten the specific words that were said or what the room looked like.
But your shoulders might still hunch up to your ears every single time a door slams nearby.
That brings us to this incredible visualization the researchers used. They call the body a living archive. I love that image, but it's also a bit haunting. It makes me look at myself differently.
It is haunting, but it feels so accurate. I want you to just try and picture this with me. Imagine your body is that archive. Every single muscle fiber is a page in a book.
Okay.
And every strand of fascia, that connective tissue that's like a web through your whole body, holding everything together, that's the binding thread.
So what's the ink? What is the story written in?
The ink is tension. Trauma writes in a language that has no words. It writes in contraction, in held breath, in bracing for a blow that already happened years ago.
See, that makes so much sense. I think we've all seen this, or maybe even felt it in ourselves. You see someone walking down the street and they look like they are wearing their shoulders as earrings.
That's a perfect description.
Just permanent parentheses around their head.
Yes, permanent parentheses. And if you ask them, hey, are you stressed out? They might say, no, I'm fine. But their body is telling a completely different story.
Or what about someone whose chest just never seems to fully expand? I've caught myself doing that. It's like they're sipping air through a tiny straw, because taking a deep, full breath feels almost dangerous.
Exactly. Expanding the chest, it exposes the heart, the vital organs. So if your somatic memory is telling you the world is unsafe, your rib cage is going to stay rigid. It's armor.
It's armor, wow.
And the jaw is another huge one the data mentions. A jaw clenched so tightly that just the idea of relaxing it feels like letting your guard down in a war zone.
And what do we always tell people when we see that? Hey, relax. Just drop your shoulders. Take a deep breath.
Which is, frankly, completely useless advice in this context because, and this is so important, these are not bad habits.
Right.
They're not poor posture choices you made from looking at your phone too much. They're survival responses.
Yeah.
They're the fight, flight, or freeze responses that
Yeah.
just got stuck.
So your body is flinching before your conscious mind even has a chance to catch up.
Yes, you're walking around in a body that is bracing for an impact that happened 20 years ago.
That's profound. It's like the body is a time capsule that hasn't been opened. But here is where the science takes a sharp, fascinating turn.
Yes, it does. It moves from just observation to the actual mechanism.
Right, because we get that it happens. We see the tight shoulders. But the sources finally explain how it gets stuck. Why doesn't the body just reset itself when the danger is over? Why don't we just shake it off?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the theory the sources use to explain it is called the incomplete response.
The incomplete response.
Yes. If you take one thing away from this whole deep dive, let it be this. The sources use this brilliant analogy. Think of your nervous system as a full symphony orchestra.
Okay, I'm with you. Strings, brass, the whole ensemble.
Right. Now, a threat appears. It could be a tiger, a car crash, a screaming boss, whatever. The conductor, your autonomic nervous system, instantly signals the orchestra to play the survival symphony.
So the music starts blasting. Adrenaline floods the system, heart rate spikes, blood rushes to your muscles.
The brass section is screaming. It's this huge crescendo. You're getting ready to fight the tiger or run from it. The energy is mobilizing for action. But imagine that right in the middle of that crescendo, the music just stops.
Stops. But why?
Well, maybe the threat ended too abruptly. Or, and this is more common in modern trauma, maybe you couldn't run, you couldn't fight, you were trapped. So you went into the third state, freeze.
You just shut down.
You shut down, the conductor dropped the baton. But here's the problem. The musicians, your muscles, your nerves, your hormones, they're all still sitting there with their instruments raised.
Oh.
The trumpet player has his lungs full of air, lips on the mouthpiece, ready to blast that high note. And suddenly, just silence. He's frozen.
So the orchestra never played the final measures.
Never got to the finale. They never got to the part where the music resolves, the energy is discharged, and they can all put their instruments down and rest. They are frozen, mid-performance.
That is such a vivid way to describe it. So that frozen musician is the reason my back is so tight. It's not just from sitting in a chair, it's a 20-year-old fight response that never got to throw the punch.
In essence, yes. All that energy that was mobilized to save your life, it never got used, so it didn't dissipate. It got trapped. And this creates a huge conflict between your brain and your body.
The brain-body disconnect.
Correct. The sources talk about this a lot. You have your rational brain, the prefrontal cortex, the CEO looking around going, hey, I'm sitting in a nice safe office, there is no tiger, I have a 401k, I'm fine.
But the body is saying, I'm holding a tuba over my head, my heart is pounding, and I'm terrified because the tiger is right there.
Exactly. The body is screaming, we are still in the second movement of the symphony. And it's so frustrating for people. They logically know they're fine, but their heart is racing, their palms are sweating.
It's that I know I'm being irrational feeling, which only makes the anxiety worse because then you start judging yourself for feeling it.
And neuroscience shows us why that judgment is totally misplaced. Trauma actually disrupts the connection between the parts of the brain that feel the body, the somatosensory regions, and the parts that tell the story. The bridge is out.
So you can't just send a memo from the brain to the body saying, hey, stand down, everything's fine.
No. The body isn't checking its email, it doesn't speak English, it speaks in sensation.
Which brings us to the big practical question then. If the problem is in the body, if the orchestra is stuck, can we just talk it out? I mean, talk therapy is the gold standard for so much, right?
It is, and it's incredibly valuable. The sources are clear about that. We aren't dismissing cognitive work, but for this specific kind of deep somatic trauma, the research suggests conversation alone often fails.
Because you can't talk an orchestra into putting their instruments down.
Precisely. You can't analyze the sheet music to make it stop.
Yeah.
You have to let them finish the song.
So what does that even look like? If we're not talking about our childhood, what are we doing instead?
We're looking at things like somatic experiencing, sensor motor psychotherapy, and trauma-sensitive yoga. Those are the big three mentioned in the material.
And how are these different from just, say, going to the gym? Because I always feel better after a run. Is that the same thing?
It's related, but it's different. Going to the gym is often about imposing your will over the body. Do 10 more reps, push through it. Somatic therapy is about listening to the body. It doesn't focus on the story of what happened.
Okay. So no narrative.
Right. It focuses on internal sensations. The therapist might ask, when you think about that accident, what happens in your chest right now?
It feels tight or hot, like a knot.
Yes. And instead of trying to analyze that knot or make it go away, they guide you to gently and safely. Complete the movement your body wanted to do all those years ago.
Complete the movement. What do you mean by that practically?
Well, remember the incomplete response. Maybe 10 years ago, you wanted to push someone away, but you couldn't. You froze. So in therapy, you might slowly, physically make that pushing motion.
You physically acted out.
You might push against a wall or a pillow. You might finally turn your head to look for an exit, an action your neck muscles wanted to do in the moment of trauma but couldn't.
So you're literally acting out the fight or flight that never happened.
But in slow motion, in a safe space. You are letting the orchestra play those final resolving notes. You push away, you shake off the energy, and literal shaking is a huge part of this. And then you take a full breath.
The shaking part is so interesting. The sources mention that animals do this, right?
Yes. Think of a gazelle that gets chased by a lion. It escapes.
Yeah.
And once it's safe, it literally shakes violently for a few minutes. It's discharging all that chemical energy.
And then it goes back to grazing.
It goes back to grazing. It doesn't get PTSD, because it finished the cycle. It played the finale. But we humans, with our big rational brains, we get in a car accident and the first thing we do is say, I'm fine, I'm fine. We suppress the shake.
We hold it together, we trap the energy.
We trap it. Somatic therapy is about finally giving yourself permission to be the gazelle, to shake, to tremble, to let the heat out. And when you do that, maybe for the first time in a decade, the nervous system gets the signal. We did it, we survived, the thread is over.
That just gave me chills. It's like you're rewriting the ending of the movie so your body can finally roll the credits.
That is a beautiful way to put it. Rolling the credits so the archive can finally be closed.
I have to play devil's advocate here. To a skeptic, or maybe someone used to very clinical, by-the-book medicine, this might sound a little woo, just shaking and breathing. Is there hard science to back this up?
That's a fair question, and the sources were ready for it. They cite a 2021 review that found clear evidence that somatic experiencing reduces PTSD symptoms and pain. But what I found most compelling was the mention of the Mayo Clinic press.
The Mayo Clinic. Okay, that's not exactly a crystal shop in the woods. That is the establishment.
Far from it. That's mainstream medicine acknowledging that addressing the physical manifestation, the tension, the bracing, is key to alleviating these chronic issues. When an institution like that says, hey, we need to look at the body to heal the mind, you know a paradigm is shifting.
It really validates that deep feeling so many people have that my body remembers what my mind forgot.
Yes, it validates that you aren't crazy, you're not broken, you are just unfinished.
Unfinished, I like that. That feels hopeful.
It is hopeful. But if we zoom out a bit, this whole idea of somatic memory raises a massive philosophical question. It really forces us to ask, who are we?
The deep who am I question.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready. Lay it on me.
Well, think about the hierarchy we usually live by. We think, I am my conscious thoughts. I am the voice in my head making decisions. I think, therefore I am.
Right. I'm the pilot, the body is just the plane.
But somatic memory suggests that the body is making decisions, flinching, feeling anxiety, shutting down, long before the conscious mind even gets a vote.
So the thinking self is just the PR guy trying to spin the press release after the body has already acted.
In a way, yeah. We think we're the CEO, but we might just be the spokesperson. The body is the older system. It's been keeping organisms alive for millions of years before language even existed. It has a wisdom that's faster and deeper than logic.
That's humbling. It completely flips the Western medicine hierarchy on its head. We always put mind over body.
And fact number 5 suggests that a lot of the time, matter controls mind, or at least it informs it. If your body is stuck in a trauma response, your mind cannot feel safe no matter how much logic you throw at it.
You can't think your way out of a somatic response.
You can't. So if the body is this wiser, older system, what does that mean for healing?
If we can't logic our way out of it, what's left?
It suggests that maybe true healing is an act of surrender.
Surrender, that's a loaded word.
It is. But I mean, surrender of the need to understand everything intellectually. We are so obsessed with the why did this happen? Why am I like this? We want to solve the puzzle.
We want the timeline, the report on our desk.
We do. But the perspective here is that you don't need to know the story to heal the wound. You might never get the specific memory of what scared you when you were 2 years old. You might not have words for it. And that's okay.
Because the body doesn't need the word.
The body needs the release. Healing might just mean giving your body permission to finally tremble, to shake, to exhale that breath it's been holding since childhood, to just be a body without having to explain itself to the brain.
That feels incredibly liberating. It takes so much pressure off. You don't have to be a detective of your own past. You just have to be a compassionate witness to your present sensations.
A compassionate witness. Yes, that's a perfect way to put it. Not a judge, not a mechanic, but a witness.
This has been heavy, but in a really good way, like a weightlifting. It makes you realize that tight shoulders or that knot in your stomach, they aren't your enemies.
No, they're messengers. There are parts of you that are still trying to survive something that is already over.
It changes the question from what is wrong with me to what is my body trying to finish?
What is my body trying to finish? That's going to stick with me. It completely reframes anxiety. It's not a defect. It's an unfinished task.
A task that can be completed.
A task that can be completed. That is the promise of somatic memory. It's not a life sentence. It's just a pause button that got stuck.
Incredible. We've gone from frozen orchestras to living archives. I feel like I need to go stretch or shake my arms out just from talking about it.
You should. That's your somatic system responding. Listen to it.
I think I will.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up this deep dive, we have to look ahead. Because as visible as these bodily changes can be, the posture, the tension, the next fact on our list, It takes visibility to a whole other level.
It certainly does. We've been looking inward at the hidden architecture of our own bodies. But the next step on our journey turns our gaze outward to something we can all see, but very few of us truly understand.
The evidence for what we just discussed is undeniable, but it leads us to an even bigger question. Fact number 4 isn't just a theory. It's a visible, tangible miracle of the natural world. This is fact 4, more than halfway already. Let's keep moving forward. Let's dive into fact number 4.
We are definitely in transformative territory now. The top 5, this is where everything really starts to shift.
It really is. And I have to say, just looking at the research for this one, it feels different.
How so?
Well, usually when this topic comes up, the whole vibe is heavy, it's clinical, it's all about struggle, medication, those worried parent-teacher conferences. But today, we are taking a concept that comes with so much baggage and stigma, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, and we're just completely flipping the script. We're talking about the ADHD super strength.
It's a massive shift in perspective, isn't it? For decades, really, since the diagnosis was first codified, the whole conversation has been entirely focused on the deficit part.
The D in ADHD.
Exactly. It's been framed almost exclusively as this checklist of failures. You can't sit still, you can't listen, you interrupt, you lose your keys, you can't finish anything.
Right. It's almost framed as a character flaw. You always hear, why can't you just focus? Or why are you so scattered? It's a broken engine that just needs to be fixed to run like a normal car.
Exactly, a normal sedan. But if you look at the material we have today, especially the research leading into 2025 and 2026, a totally different picture emerges. We aren't looking at a broken brain. We're looking at a different operating system, one that has these distinct, high-value cognitive strengths that are actually becoming more valuable.
I want to pause on that phrase, different operating system, because super strength can sound a little, I don't know, like a buzzword.
Sure.
Like something you tell a kid so they don't feel bad about failing a test. Is the research actually backing this up, or is this just, toxic positivity?
No, that's a fair question, and we should be careful. The sources are not saying the struggles aren't real. They are very, very real, especially in environments not built for this kind of brain.
Right.
But the mission for this deep dive is to explore the other side of that coin, to look at how this wiring, which we've pathologized for so long, is actually tuned for specific things like novelty, exploration, and rapid response.
So the argument is that it's a specific evolutionary setup, that it's a feature, not a bug.
Precisely. And arguably, it might just be the ideal operating system for the chaotic, fast-paced, information-dense world we are living in right now.
Okay, let's unpack that. I feel like we have to start with the name, attention deficit. Based on what I'm reading here, that name is almost a lie. It's like calling a Formula One car a passenger deficit vehicle because it doesn't have a back seat.
That's a fantastic analogy. It is a total misnomer. The source material really highlights that it's not an actual lack of attention.
Right.
If it were, people with ADHD wouldn't be able to pay attention to anything. They'd just be blank. And we know that's not true.
Not at all. They can play a video game for 12 hours straight, or get lost in a 600-page book in one sitting.
Exactly. It's an issue of regulation, not capacity. It's not that the gas tank is empty, it's that the faucet is incredibly hard to control. It's either all the way on, or it just drips. There's no medium setting.
Which brings us to one of the most paradoxical features, the one that confuses the heck out of parents, partners, bosses.
Hyperfocus.
Hyperfocus, yeah. Walk us through this, because on one hand we say distractible, but on the other we say laser focused. How do those two things live in the same brain?
Hyperfocus is the flip side of distractibility. The text describes it as this state where attention doesn't wander at all. It just locks in completely.
Okay.
Biologically, the ADHD brain is driven by interest, not by importance.
Interest, not importance. That feels like the key to the whole thing.
It is. It's the interest-based nervous system. So a neurotypical brain can use importance to fuel focus. It can say, this tax return is incredibly boring, but it's important, so I will do it.
And they just do it. They can just sit down and do the boring thing.
They just do it.
Yeah.
They might not enjoy it, but they can summon the neurochemicals to get it done.
Yeah.
The ADHD brain really struggles to rev up for importance alone. But if a task is stimulating or urgent or meaningful, the chemistry changes instantly. The brain floods with dopamine, and they enter that state of deep immersion.
I think anyone who knows someone with ADHD or has it knows exactly what that looks like. It's the person who physically cannot sit through a 20-minute meeting about spreadsheets.
Oh, yeah.
Their skin is crawling, they're clicking their pen, they are dying inside. But that same person will stay up until 4 a.m. coding a website or editing a film or, I don't know, researching 17th century naval warfare.
And they literally forget to eat or go to the bathroom.
Exactly.
The source details this swing perfectly. When the conditions are right, the ADHD brain enters a flow state that's actually very difficult for a neurotypical brain to even match. Time just vanishes.
Yeah.
You merge with the task.
So if we're looking at this as an advantage, where does that actually apply? Because, forgetting to eat while researching old ships isn't really a career skill.
Maybe not directly, no, unless you're a historian. But the text points out where this becomes a superpower. So if you're in a situation that requires steady, uniform, attention-like data entry, routine filing, the ADHD brain suffers. It's understimulated, starving, really.
Change the context.
Right. Put that same brain in a startup, or a creative agency, or in crisis response.
Oh, crisis response makes so much sense when you think about that urgency factor.
It really does. The source mentions these minds thrive in intense sprints and rapid pivots. Think about an ER doctor or a firefighter. It's chaos, it's high stakes. New information is flying in constantly.
And steady, low-level attention is useless there. You can't be moderately focused in an emergency room.
Exactly. You need the ability to react instantly, to hyper-focus on the patient in front of you, solve the problem, and then snap pivot to the next one without carrying the baggage from the last. The ADHD brain actually creates order out of chaos because the chaos provides the stimulation it needs to function.
It calms down when the world speeds up.
That's a great way to put it.
That's the super strength. It's the ability to sprint mentally. It's interesting because our whole school system, most entry-level jobs, they're designed for marathons, not sprints. They reward steady plodding.
And that's where all the friction comes from. But here's where it gets really relevant to the future. The source makes a fascinating connection to the age of AI.
Oh, I saw that. I was wondering how AI fits into neurodiversity.
Well, think about what AI is good at. What are we outsourcing to algorithms?
All the boring stuff, the routine, organizing, the paperwork of the world, spreadsheets.
Exactly. AI is the ultimate steady state worker. It's great at all the things the ADHD brain is terrible at. It never gets bored. As those tasks get automated, the value of the human worker shifts.
Right, we don't need humans to be robots anymore. We have robots for that.
Precisely. The text argues that in this new landscape, the ADHD brain's talent for quick pattern recognition, for ideation, for improvisation, that becomes a genuine performance asset. We're moving into an economy that values the sprint and the pivot over the steady grind.
So in a way, the world is finally catching up to how these brains work.
You could certainly argue that. It's a market correction for cognitive styles.
But here is where things take a sharp turn into how the wiring actually works. We've talked about focus, but let's talk about the ideas. The source brings up divergent thinking.
Yes. This is one of the most robust findings in the literature. Adults with ADHD consistently score higher on measures of divergent thinking.
Okay, for anyone who hasn't heard that term, what is divergent thinking? Is that just a fancy word for being creative?
It's a specific type of creativity. So convergent thinking is when you take a lot of facts and find the one correct answer, like a multiple choice test.
Standard logic.
Right. Divergent thinking is starting with one prompt and generating many, many possible answers. It's brainstorming. It's lateral thinking.
So if I give you a brick and say, what can you do with this?
Exactly. Convergent thinking says, build a wall. Divergent thinking says, paperweight, doorstop, grind it into pigment for paint, use it to smash a window, heat it up to warm your bed.
Carve a tiny statue out of it.
Right. And the neuroscience behind this is wild. The notes mention something called lower inhibitory control. Now, usually that sounds like a bad thing.
Yeah, that sounds like I can't stop myself from eating the cookie.
In a behavioral sense, yes, it manifests as impulsivity, it's the lack of brakes. But the text asks us to reframe this in a cognitive, creative context. Think of the brain as having a filter, or maybe a bouncer at the door of your consciousness.
Okay, I like the bouncer analogy.
So in a neurotypical brain, the bouncer is very strict. He's got a clipboard, an earpiece. He filters out irrelevant thoughts and ideas so you can focus. He keeps the club inside your head orderly.
The bouncer says, we are doing a deep dive right now. Don't think about zebras. Don't think about dinner. Don't notice that weird pattern in the carpet.
Exactly. He kicks those thoughts out before you're even aware of them.
Yeah.
But in the ADHD brain, the bouncer's, let's say he's on his break, he's lenient, he's letting everyone in. The mental filter is porous.
So the zebra gets in.
The zebra gets in, along with 5 other unrelated ideas, a song lyric, a memory from third grade,
Yeah.
and a new invention. Now, if you're trying to do your taxes, that's a total disaster.
But if you're trying to solve a complex problem,
It's gold, because you're making associations that other people's brains automatically filter out. You have more raw material crashing together in your conscious mind.
so it's not that they are consciously trying to be creative, their brain is just serving up more options by default.
Precisely. The source explains it leads to unusual associations. This is the core mechanic of creativity, connecting two things that don't seem like they belong together. And the text specifically mentions science, design, storytelling, entrepreneurship, fields that benefit from that unfiltered ideation.
Wait, what if we tried this moment?
Yes, while everyone else is walking down the main path, the ADHD brain has already noticed 3 side trails and a shortcut through the woods.
Speaking of the periphery, the source also touches on sensitivity.
It does, and this is so often overlooked. We talk about hyperactivity, but ADHD often comes with this profound sensitivity to stimulation, again, usually framed as a negative.
You're too sensitive, you get overwhelmed easily.
Right, why is that loud noise bothering you? But if you flip the script, what's the upside of that?
If you're sensitive to stimulation, it means you're perceiving more.
You're perceiving more. You have a heightened perception of details, of changes in the environment, of emotional nuance.
So it translates to intuition or rapid situational assessment.
That's it. If you walk into a room and your brain doesn't filter, you notice the mood instantly. You notice the tiny details, the flickering light, the tension between two people. In roles that require high empathy or a quick read of a situation like sales or therapy, that sensitivity is a radar system.
That is a really powerful reframing. Instead of being overwhelmed, you're high resolution.
Exactly. You're taking in a 4K video when everyone else is seeing 1080p. It takes more processing power, sure, but the picture is clearer.
I thought the last point was fascinating, but this next perspective on history changed my entire view of the disorder.
Yes.
Because you have to ask, if this is a genetic trait, and we know it's highly heritable, and it causes so much trouble in school and work, why hasn't evolution just weeded it out?
This is the big evolutionary question. Usually if a gene is bad for survival, it disappears. ADHD is stuck around for thousands of years.
Yeah.
It's in every population.
So what gives? Why are we still here?
The source brings up the hunter-gatherer theory.
This is my favorite part of the research. The idea that this brain type isn't a mistake, it's an adaptation for a different time.
Right, we have to remember that sitting at a desk for 8 hours, staring at a screen, that's a blink of an eye in human history. For 99% of our existence, we were in high-risk, hunter-gatherer environments.
On the savannah, so let's go back to the savannah. Why do you need an ADHD brain in your tribe?
Well, imagine a group of humans. Most of them have that steady, uniform attention, let's call them the farmers. They're focused on grinding seeds, weaving baskets, keeping the camp organized. They're efficient.
But then you have the person who can't focus on the basket. He's looking around, distracted by a snapping twig. He's impulsive. He wants to see what's over that hill.
Exactly. In a modern classroom, that person is a disruption. But on the savannah, that person is the sentry. That person is the scout.
Because he heard the twigs snap?
He heard the twig snap because his inhibitory control didn't filter it out. He noticed the change. The farmers were too focused on the basket to hear the leopard approaching. The hunter heard it.
So the distractibility is actually vigilance.
Correct. And the source lists traits like exploring new options. If the food source runs out, the farmers might keep trying the same old thing. The ADHD brain gets bored, restless. It says, I'm going to cross that river and see what's over there.
And the impulsivity, that seems like it would be dangerous.
It is risk-taking. But risk-taking is essential for innovation, for migration. If no one ever had the impulse to try the new berry or cross the river, the tribe stagnates. These traits provided group advantages: scouting, innovation, acting decisively.
It makes you look at the hyperactivity differently, too. If you have to walk 20 miles a day to hunt, being restless is a good thing.
Exactly. It's only a disorder when you take that hunter and force them to be a farmer, or worse, a clerk.
The modern mismatch.
That's the key friction point. The conflict isn't inside the person. It's between the person and the environment. Current society prioritizes sedentary systems, long delays on rewards, and quiet compliance.
And quiet compliance is basically kryptonite for the ADHD brain.
It is. The text uses a powerful phrase. The ADHD brain is an explorer forced into a clerk role. When you take a brain designed for high-stimulation scouting and put it in a cubicle, Of course it malfunctions. Of course it looks like a deficit.
It's like taking that Formula One car and driving it in stop-and-go traffic. It's going to overheat, it's going to jerk around, it's going to look like a terrible car.
But put it on the track. The environment it was built for, and it performs better than anything else.
So what do we do with this? I mean, we can't all just quit our jobs and become nomads. We live in 2026. We have mortgages.
Right, and this is where the source moves into strategy. It references 2025 research on well-being and workplace adaptation.
What'd they find?
They found that adults who identify and deliberately play to their strengths, creativity, humor, curiosity, empathy, they report significantly better well-being and fewer mental health difficulties.
So the mental health struggle comes from trying to be something you're not, from trying to force the Formula One car to be a minivan.
Exactly. It's the shame of the mismatch. The whole shift is reframing ADHD not as a broken system to be fixed, but as a different operating system that just needs a specific user manual.
What does that manual look like, practically?
The advice in the text outlines a strength-based strategy. It's about structuring your life to maximize that high-stimulation, high-impact work, leaning into your strengths.
Leaning into the hyper-focus.
Yes. If you know your brain thrives on urgency and novelty, try to find roles or projects that have those things. If you're a writer, maybe don't write technical manuals, write breaking news.
And what about the stuff we're bad at? The organization, the scheduling, the taxes. We can't just ignore all that.
The source suggests a hack. Externalize it. The ADHD brain has a poor working memory, right? That mental scratch pad. So don't rely on your brain for the things it's bad at.
Externalize.
Yeah.
Use tools.
Use tools. Use AI assistance. Delegate. Body doubling's another great one. Just working alongside someone else to borrow their focus.
The text mentions externalize organization. So instead of beating yourself up for forgetting an appointment, you just accept your brain doesn't hold appointments well, and you build a system that does it for you. You stop making it a moral failure.
Right. You free your brain to do what it does best. Offload the low-interest tasks so you have the bandwidth for the high-interest creativity and problem solving.
It's really about permission, isn't it? Permission to stop trying to be normal and start trying to be effective in your own way.
That's the core message. The final thought in the source is that the friction people feel isn't a personal failure. It's a systemic mismatch.
That is such a relief to hear. I think for a lot of people, just hearing you are not broken, you are in the wrong environment, is life-changing.
It really is. The super strength lies in capabilities perfectly suited for a dynamic, innovation-driven world. We are entering an era of massive change and unpredictability.
And who better to navigate the frontier than the scout?
Who better to navigate that than the brain built for exploration?
Ideally, we stop asking people with ADHD to sit still and we start asking them, what do you see that the rest of us are missing?
Exactly. That is the question we should be asking.
Yeah.
Because they are seeing possibilities.
It's a complete paradigm shift from you're broken to you're built for something else. And honestly, looking at the world today, we need as many scouts as we can get.
We certainly do.
So that is fact number 4. The ADHD super strength. It's not a deficit, it's a difference. And if you can harness it, it's a serious advantage.
That's one of the most hopeful areas of modern psychology, I think.
Absolutely. Now, we are moving into the top 3, the medal podium of the extraordinary 10. And I have to warn you.
Here we go.
I almost didn't believe this next one when I first read it. It sounds like science fiction. But as you're about to hear in fact number 3, the reality is even more extraordinary than the fiction. Stay with us. We are moving deeper into our countdown. Let's dive into fact number 3.
And this one it's a real pivot point. If facts 10 through 4 were all about, identifying the problems, the stress, the burnout.
All the heavy stuff.
Exactly, all the heavy stuff. Fact number 3 is where the whole script flips. This is where we stop diagnosing the damage and start looking at the repair manual.
And I have to say, this fact feels like a massive correction. A correction to a story we've all been told about our own brains for, 50 years? We are talking about neuroplasticity windows.
We are, and you're so right, it is a correction. I mean, to really get the gravity of this, you have to remember the old dogma. For decades, the consensus in neuroscience was basically, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Right. The whole idea that your childhood is this, magical time of learning, but once you hit your mid-20s, that's it. The cement dries.
The brain is hardwired.
Yeah, I remember being taught that in school. You have your neurons, and once they're gone, and the connections are pretty much set. Good luck changing them.
Exactly. We knew about these critical periods in childhood. It's why a toddler can learn 3 languages just by being in a room, while you and I struggle with an app for years.
I feel seen.
In childhood, the brain is it's hyper malleable. But the assumption was that window just slams shut in adulthood for stability.
Which makes some evolutionary sense, doesn't it? You don't want your brain rewiring itself every time the wind blows.
Of course not.
You need to know that fire is hot without relearning it every single Tuesday. But that stability becomes a prison if you're, stable in a state of depression or trauma.
Precisely. And that is what fact number 3 just blows wide open. The source material is clear.
Okay.
The adult brain is not a static object. It is not done.
So it's not about if it can change.
It's about when. It cycles through these states of rigidity and plasticity.
Okay, I want to stick with that wet cement analogy that the report uses because that really clicked for me. So childhood is wet cement, easy to mold. Adulthood is dried concrete.
Right.
But this fact is saying we've found a solvent.
That is the perfect way to look at it. These neuroplasticity windows are effectively a chemical or even a behavioral solvent that can temporarily turn that hard concrete back into wet cement.
So this isn't about willpower. It's not try harder to change your mind.
Not at all.
We're talking about a biological mechanism that physically softens the connections.
Correct. And this is where it gets really interesting because the sources point to a few different ways to open these windows. The first one involves a class of drugs millions of people are already on, but, and this is the key, they might be using them with the wrong instruction manual.
You're talking about SSRIs, antidepressants.
Yes. The concept is plasticity. That's induced plasticity.
Okay, let's pause here because the pop culture idea of an antidepressant is the whole chemical imbalance theory. You're sad, you don't have enough serotonin, you take a pill, you get more serotonin, you're happy.
Right, serotonin story.
But this research suggests that's, it's wrong, or at least really incomplete.
It is very incomplete. I mean, that low serotonin theory has frustrated scientists for years. Think about it. When you take an SSRI, your serotonin levels spike within hours.
Right away.
But patients don't feel better for weeks, sometimes months. If it was just about the serotonin level, the fix would be instant.
So that lag time, that 4 to 6 weeks people are told to wait, that's the clue.
That's the smoking gun. Fact number 3 explains that lag. The drugs aren't just directly boosting your mood, they're increasing the production of a protein called BDNF.
Brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
Exactly.
I've heard this called miracle grow for the brain.
It's a cliche, but it's an accurate one. BDNF promotes synaptic remodeling. It helps neurons disconnect from old dysfunctional patterns and reach out to form new ones.
But that takes time.
That takes time. That's the lag. It's a construction project, not flicking a light switch.
Okay, but this brings up a huge question for me. I know plenty of people who've been on SSRIs for years, and they don't feel rewired. They just feel maybe numbed or stable, but not transformed.
And this is the most important insight in this entire fact. The medication, the BDNF boost, it opens the window. It softens the cement.
But it doesn't reshape it.
It does not reshape it. The pill is the solvent, but you have to be the sculptor.
Let's use that other analogy. The messy room. So my depressed brain is a hoarded room, and the door's been locked for years.
Okay?
The SSRI is the key that unlocks the door.
It unlocks the door. It might even grease the hinges. But, and I can't stress this enough, the pill does not walk into that room and start cleaning up.
Wow. So if you take the pill, the door is unlocked, but you just sit on the couch watching Netflix, you don't do therapy, you don't change your environment.
And you just have a messy room with an unlocked door. The state of the room hasn't changed at all.
That explains so much about the mixed results people have. The source even mentioned animal studies on this, right?
It does. They found if you boost plasticity in an animal, but you don't pair it with corrective learning.
Like exposure therapy for a fear.
Right. If you don't do that, nothing changes. The old fear patterns just stay put.
So the real formula isn't just drug, it's trigger plus experience.
Trigger plus experience equals rewiring. You need the chemical to soften the cement, and then you need the therapy, the new behaviors, to remold it while it's wet.
It makes the patient an active participant, not a passive recipient.
Exactly. Now, SSRIs are what we could call the slow lane for this.
Yeah.
It takes weeks. But the report pivots to something much, much faster.
Yeah, this is the part I had to read twice because it just seemed so unlikely. We're talking about nitrous oxide,
N2O, laughing gas.
which I associate with the dentist, or frankly with something much less clinical. It's hard to see it as a serious therapeutic tool.
I get the skepticism. I really do. It has a reputation. But for treatment-resistant depression, In a clinical setting, the source calls this the fast lane.
How fast is fast?
We're talking rapid changes in brain networks, happening almost immediately. If SSRIs are like slowly adding fertilizer to the soil, nitrous oxide is like a system reboot.
And it's not just about feeling a high for an hour and then crashing.
No, this is mechanistic. It's not just a feeling. It specifically affects signaling in key brain networks, especially one called the default mode network.
Ah, the DMN, we've talked about that. That's the brain's screensaver, right? The part that's on when you're just mind wandering.
It is, but in depression, it stops being a screensaver and becomes, well, toxic. It becomes the rumination network, that inner monologue on a loop. I'm a failure, it's hopeless, why bother?
A traffic jam in your head.
A permanent traffic jam. And what the nitrous oxide does is it transiently disrupts that network's connectivity. It's like a jackhammer that just for a moment breaks up that patch of mental pavement.
A temporary high-speed plasticity window.
Transient is the key word. It doesn't last. It makes those emotional networks labile.
Labile. I like that word. It means changeable, unstable.
It's full of potential. But again, the same rule applies. If you just disrupt the network and then do nothing, the traffic jam just reforms. But if you intervene with therapy right then, while the brain is labile,
You have this massive opportunity to reroute the traffic.
a huge opportunity.
Okay, so we have a slow lane with SSRIs and a fast lane with things like nitrous oxide. But I can hear the listener asking, do I have to take drugs to do this? Can we open these windows on our own?
That is the million-dollar question. And the answer from the sources is a resounding yes. You don't always need a chemical key. Behavioral windows are just as real.
And what opens a behavioral window? Is it just wanting to change really badly?
No, wanting isn't enough. The trigger, the biological trigger, is sustained attention and effortful strain.
Effortful strain. That does not sound relaxing.
It's the opposite of relaxing. This is intense focus. Think about learning a new language or a complex musical instrument. When you force your brain to focus that intensely, you're basically sending a biological signal that says, hey, my current wiring is not good enough for this task.
Oh, I see. So that feeling of frustration when you're trying to learn a guitar chord and your fingers won't cooperate, that frustration is actually the trigger.
That agitation is the trigger. It releases chemicals like acetylcholine and epinephrine, and they literally mark those neural circuits for change. They're like little flags saying remodel here.
So passively listening to something or watching a YouTube tutorial, that's not going to cut it.
Passive consumption doesn't open the window. You have to be in the arena struggling with the task. The source also mentions that if you do this in an enriched environment, it creates this incredible spillover effect.
A spillover?
Yeah, so if you open a plasticity window to learn the piano, your entire brain is in a more plastic state for a little while. So you can piggyback on that if you do your therapy session right after your piano lesson.
You can use that open window to work on your mood and your self-concept too.
Exactly.
That is unbelievably empowering. It means a hobby isn't just a hobby, it can be a neurological intervention.
It is. But there's one last window the source covers, and this one is specifically for healing the past. It's called trauma memory reconsolidation.
Okay, this was the part of the file that felt like science fiction, because it completely changes how we think about memory. Most of us think of memory like a book in a library.
That's the old model, the library archive. You take the book out, you read it, you put it back. The book itself doesn't change.
It's static. The text is the text.
But the new science shows that when a memory is vividly reactivated, it becomes labile again. It temporarily unconsolidates.
It turns back into wet cement for a few moments.
For a few hours, yeah. Think of it like a Word document. When you open the file, the memory, it's now open for editing. And before you close it, you have to hit save.
And hitting save is the reconsolidation.
Yes, and this is the hack. If you can intervene while that document is open, you can change how it gets saved.
Okay, so let's make that real. A person has a traumatic memory. In a therapy session, they recall it. They feel the fear, the fast heartbeat. The window is now open. What's next?
The therapist introduces what's called a mismatch experience. They help the person focus on the safety of the current room. Or they guide them through a calming technique. They're basically editing the file. They're stripping the high alert emotional tag off of it.
You're not erasing what happened. This isn't science fiction. You're not deleting the memory.
No, the narrative is still there. You remember the event. But the emotional charge, that feeling of, I am in danger right now, is weakened. You resave the file without the panic attack attached.
That is profound. It means the past isn't a life sentence. It's a file that hasn't been properly edited and saved yet.
That is the core message of fact number 3. It explains why therapy can work. It explains why we can recover from things that feel unrecoverable, We are hacking the brain's own save function.
So let's pull all of this together. We have SSRIs, we have nitrous oxide, intense learning, memory updates. What's the through line? What does this mean for you, the listener, trying to get through the week?
It points to a huge paradigm shift. We're moving away from just take a pill or just talk forever. The future of mental health is about timing.
Timing.
The formula for real change seems to be trigger plus structured experience equals rewiring.
You have to find the moment the window is open or create it.
Yes. Whether you opened it with an intense workout, a therapy session, a medication, whatever, you have to recognize, okay, the cement is wet right now.
Yeah.
And then you do the work.
It really takes the pressure off of pure willpower, doesn't it? The guilt people feel when they can't just snap out of it.
Completely. You can't wish dry concrete into a new shape. It's impossible. You have to create the window. But, and this is the responsibility part, once that window is open, you have to act.
Because it closes again.
It always closes. And if you open that window and then go right back to toxic thought patterns, the cement just hardens in the same old shape.
Yeah.
Or worse.
So it's a partnership. Our biology gives us the opportunity.
And our behavior determines the result.
Which is an incredible realization. We've looked at the mechanics, the how of changing the brain, but this is just the mechanism.
Exactly. The how is useless if you don't understand the what. What is the system even trying to do? What's the underlying logic?
And we are getting so close to the top of the list. This has been amazing, but we have to keep moving.
We do. We've unpacked the engine. Now we have to look at the fuel that makes it run.
Stay tuned.
We are down to the final two. The tension is building because fact number 2 sets the stage for the absolute pinnacle of our countdown. This is the logic that holds the entire system together.
Last fact before the big finale. We are moving deeper into our countdown. Let's dive into fact number 2.
It feels surreal that we're finally here. I mean, the second to last rung of the ladder, this whole deep dive into the extraordinary 10 has been a marathon, but we're basically at the finish line now.
It really has been a journey. We've covered, everything from quantum biology to the hidden powers of the ADHD brain. But I have to be honest with you, and I suspect you listening might feel this too. When I first saw the headline for fact number 2, I felt a little let down.
Let down. Really, that is not the reaction I would have expected.
Well, look at the list we've had.
Yep.
Earth-shattering revelations, right.
Yeah.
And then we get to number 2, the silver medalist, and it looks like a hydration tip. It felt a bit like finding a drink more water sticky note in a classified file.
I can see why you'd think that. On the surface, it sounds pedestrian. Drink water, stay healthy. It's the kind of advice your grandmother gives you.
Exactly, or, a poster in the school nurse's office. I was expecting something more, I don't know, aliens or telepathy.
But that is exactly why this fact is sitting at number 2. Because it hides in plain sight. If you think this is about drinking 8 glasses a day for glowing skin, you are looking at the wrong map entirely. This isn't about hydration as a wellness trend. This is about the 50% cortisol spike.
And that is the phrase that stopped me dead in my tracks, the 50% cortisol spike. That doesn't sound like dry skin. That sounds like a panic attack waiting to happen.
It's essentially biological warfare happening inside your own body. This fact exposes a silent amplifier that is, right now, operating in the background of millions of people's lives. We spend so much energy on meditation apps, on sleep hygiene, on therapy, all to manage stress. But there is this physiological switch that, when flipped the wrong way, just makes a lot of that effort way less effective.
So let's unpack this. The core idea here is that simple underhydration, not, dying of thirst in the desert, but just being a low drinker, is fundamentally changing how we process anxiety.
That is the core of it. It changes the chemical reality of your emotional response. We're drawing this primarily from a groundbreaking 2025 study. It's out of Liverpool, John Moores University, published in the Journal of Applied Physiology.
2025, so this is brand new, cutting edge stuff. What exactly did the team in Liverpool do? Because usually these studies are about athletic performance, how fast you can run or something. This feels different.
Very different. They weren't looking at muscles. They were looking at the mind and the endocrine system. They took a group of healthy adults and they categorized them based on their typical everyday fluid habits.
Okay, so who were the subjects?
You had Group A, the low drinkers. These are people consuming less than about 1.5 liters of fluid a day.
Which, let's be real, is a massive demographic. I know so many people, smart, high-functioning people, who basically survive on a morning espresso, a diet soda at lunch, and that's about it.
It's incredibly common. So that was Group A. Then you had Group B, the people who were, meeting the recommended intake levels consistently. The researchers then took both groups and put them through an acute stress test.
Now, when you say stress test, are we talking about a treadmill? Or is this something psychological?
Oh, it's psychological. Social pressure. They use something like the Trier social stress test. You should think of it like a mock job interview combined with a mental math task, all done in front of a panel of judges who are told not to smile.
Oh, that is the worst. That is pure nightmare fuel. Public speaking and math while people just stone face you.
It's designed to reliably trigger the body's fight or flight response. It's a standard way to measure how someone handles pressure. And this is where the data just gets terrifying. They measured cortisol, the primary stress hormone released during this whole ordeal.
Okay, so both groups are facing the exact same nightmare judges. The external pressure is identical.
Identical, same room, same task. But the internal reaction was drastically different. The underhydrated group didn't just feel a little more flustered. Their cortisol response, the actual amount of stress hormone flooding their system, was over 50% higher than the hydrated group.
We need to pause on that number. 50%. That's massive.
It is statistically enormous.
So if I translate that, let's say two people are in the same meeting. The boss walks in and says, "We lost the client." Person A, who's hydrated, gets a stress hit of, I don't know, a 6 out of 10. They're stressed, but they're thinking. Person B, who is underhydrated, gets hit with a 9.
That's exactly what the physiology suggests. The event is the same. The stakes are the same. But person B is experiencing a chemical explosion that is half again as powerful. Their heart is pounding harder. Their mind is racing faster.
And it's all because of fluid balance.
Purely because the baseline physiology was compromised before the boss even walked into the room.
This implies that a huge chunk of what we call stress isn't actually about the problems we're facing. It's about the state of the machine facing the problem.
You've just hit on a really profound point. We attribute the intensity of our feelings to the external world. We say, this job is killing me. But in reality, the job is just the spark. The dehydration is the accelerant that makes the fire burn 50% hotter.
I thought the last one was wild, but this next detail changed my entire perspective. Because I know what people are thinking right now. They're thinking, okay, but I know my body. If I was that dehydrated, I'd be thirsty.
And that assumption is the trap. That is the silent part of this fact. In the study, the participants in the low fluid group, the ones with the massive cortisol spikes, did not report feeling thirsty.
Wait, they had no idea.
Their subjective feeling was, I'm fine. They weren't parched. But objectively, when the researchers looked at their urine osmolality, which is the gold standard measurement, they were physically underhydrated.
So the dashboard warning light is broken. The engine is overheating, but the little light on the dash still says everything's normal.
That is a fantastic analogy. We rely on thirst as our check engine light, but the science shows that thirst is actually a lagging indicator. By the time you feel that dry scratch in your throat, you're already way behind the curve.
Why would our bodies be designed like that? It seems like a flaw.
Well, it's about prioritization. The body has ways to compensate for water loss long before it decides to bug your conscious brain about it. It tries to handle the problem internally first. But that internal compensation, it comes at a cost.
The cost being this silent underhydration. You're walking around feeling normal, maybe a little tired or snappy, but you don't feel thirsty, yet your body is essentially primed for a panic attack.
Precisely. It's this huge overload contributor to everyday anxiety. We're always looking for psychological reasons for our moods. Why am I so irritable today? We analyze our childhoods, but we rarely ask, what's my osmolality right now?
It really challenges that whole idea of mind over matter. In this case, it's matter governing the mind. But I want to get into the gears of this. How do we get from not enough water to brain flooding with panic hormones? How does it talk to the anxiety center in the brain?
This is the fascinating why behind the statistic. To get it, we have to talk about a hormone called arginine vasopressin, or AVP.
AVP sounds like a military contractor or something.
Well, it's a very ancient, very important hormone for survival. Its day job is water conservation. When your fluid levels drop, even slightly, your body senses a threat to blood volume. So the body thinks, we're losing water, we need to save every single drop.
Okay, so AVP tells the kidneys, shut the gates, don't let any more water out.
Correct, it concentrates your urine. And here is the crucial evolutionary quirk.
Oh.
AVP has a side hustle.
A side hustle?
It doesn't just talk to the kidneys, it also has receptors in the brain, specifically in the hypothalamus. And the hypothalamus is the command center for the HPA axis.
The stress highway.
The main thoroughfare for stress, exactly. AVP acts as a stimulant on this axis. It essentially co-stimulates the release of cortisol. So picture it. You're underhydrated. Your body is flooded with AVP to save water. But that high level of AVP is chemically shouting at your adrenal glands, be ready, something is wrong.
Whoa. So it's like
Yeah.
it's like you call the fire department because a cat is stuck in a tree, you just need a ladder. But because of some weird wiring glitch, calling the fire department automatically triggers the town's air raid sirens.
That is a brilliant way to put it.
The body just wants to save some water, that's the cat in the tree. But the tool it uses, AVP, convinces the entire stress system that we are under attack.
It's physiological crosstalk. The systems are linked. The body interprets low water as a primal survival threat. It doesn't know the difference between I was busy in meetings and I'm stranded in the Sahara. So it primes the system for danger.
So the gun is already cocked.
The baseline is loaded. That's the key. Your resting physiology is already leaning toward fight or flight. So when the actual stressor comes, the traffic, the deadline, the cortisol response doesn't start from zero. It starts from a springboard. And that's how you get that 50% spike.
Frightening, but also weirdly empowering to know. It means there's a mechanical lever we can actually pull.
Exactly. It creates an intervention point that doesn't require therapy. It just requires fluid.
But here is where things take a sharp turn into our daily lives, because 50% is a number, but I want to visualize what that feels like on a Tuesday afternoon.
Let's do that. Think of your stress response like an amplifier at a rock concert.
Okay, I've got it. Big dials, speakers.
The music being played, that's the external stress. The work presentation, the crying baby. Let's say today, that input is at a volume of 4. It's loud, but manageable.
A level 4 day, I can handle a level 4. That's just life.
If you are hydrated, your internal amplifier is set to neutral. The music comes in at a 4. Your brain processes it at a 4. You deal with it. You retain your executive function.
Scenario A. I handle the problem and move on. No drama.
Now, scenario B. You are underhydrated. You don't feel thirsty, but your AVP is sky high. That AVP turns the gain on the amplifier way up. The music is still coming in at a 4, but your amplifier is cranking it out at an 8.
So now it's deafening. The feedback is screeching.
It feels overwhelming. Your heart rate spikes. Your chest gets tight. You don't just feel annoyed. You feel cornered. You snap at your spouse. You feel like the world is collapsing.
And I'm standing there thinking, why am I falling apart over a crying baby? What is wrong with me?
Exactly. You blame your character. You think, I'm weak or I can't handle stress. But biologically, you're just experiencing an exaggerated chemical reaction.
That is actually such a relief to know that sometimes that feeling of I can't take this anymore might just be I need a glass of water. It takes the shame out of it.
It reframes the entire experience.
Yeah.
And we have to talk about the long-term risks, too. This isn't just about a bad mood. If you live your life with that amplifier turned up to 8, you're burning out the components.
Right. Spiking your cortisol by an extra 50% every single day. That has to take a toll.
It absolutely does. Chronic elevation of cortisol is the enemy of longevity. It's associated with cardiovascular disease, metabolic problems, mood disorders. You're just wearing out the system, your heart, your brain, much faster than necessary.
It's like driving your car in second gear on the highway. I mean, you can do it, but the engine is not going to last.
It's metabolic friction, a perfect term for it. Everything is just harder for the body to do.
So let's get to the solution. This one seems accessible, but I want to be specific. What counts? What do we need to do?
We need to move hydration from the generic wellness tip bucket and put it into the emotional regulation strategy bucket.
It's not about skin, it's about sanity.
Precisely. For women, the target is around 2 liters of fluid a day. For men, about 2.5.
2 to 2.5 liters. Okay, now I can hear the collective groan of people thinking, I cannot drink that much plain water. I hate the taste.
And this is where we bust a major myth. The experts in this study were clear. The recommendation includes all beverages.
Oh, really? Because I have definitely heard that coffee is a net negative. You know, for every cup of coffee, drink 2 cups of water.
That is a persistent zombie myth. While caffeine is a mild diuretic, for a habitual drinker, the fluid contribution far outweighs the loss. The water in your tea, your coffee, your seltzer, it all counts towards that total.
That is the best news I've heard all day. My morning latte is technically emotional support fluid.
In a physiological sense, yes. Plain water is the gold standard, of course, but don't let perfect be the enemy of good.
I love this idea of a cortisol ceiling. That's a great phrase.
It's a great visual, right? By staying hydrated, you are mechanically lowering the ceiling on how high your stress response can go.
Yeah.
You're putting a governor on the engine. You might still get stressed, but you won't redline.
It changes how I look at my water bottle on my desk right now. It's not just a container, it's a shield. It's a tool for preloading resilience.
That's the strategy. You drink water at 10 a.m., not because you're thirsty, but because you know that 2 p.m. meeting is going to be tough. You want your HPA axis to be calm when you walk in that room.
It's strategic hydration. For anyone navigating a high-pressure day, carrying a water bottle is like carrying a weapon against anxiety.
You control the variables you can control. You can't control the traffic, you can't control your boss, but you can control your osmolality.
So what this all means is that mental health is inseparable from body maintenance. We try to treat the mind like it's this separate thing, but fact number 2 proves they're completely tangled together.
You cannot divorce the psychology from the physiology. Underhydration doesn't cause the bad email, but it dictates how much that email hurts you.
It's the difference between being made of glass and being made of rubber.
And that choice is largely in our hands, or I guess in our cups.
So the takeaway from fact number 2, drink up. Not because you're thirsty, that's too late, but because you want to keep that amplifier turned down. You want to keep the volume at a 4, not an 8.
It's a small lever that moves a very big rock.
And it sets the stage perfectly for where we're going next, because if this is what happens when we ignore a basic need like water, imagine what happens when we look at the ultimate regulator of our entire system.
Oh, I can't wait. We've gone through the gut, brain waves, cellular aging, and now this hidden hydration spike.
It's been an incredible list. We've dissected the human machine from the microscopic to the cosmic, but everything, it all pales in comparison to number 1.
It really does. Fact number 2 was the silver medalist, and it's impressive. But number 1, it's in a different league entirely.
We are right at the edge of the cliff now. The view is amazing, but the jump we're about to take is going to change everything.
I'm ready if you are.
Stop. Before we go any further, we have reached the moment we've been building toward for the last 2 hours. Fact number 1 is the reason this podcast exists. It is the holy grail of this entire subject. Everything we have discussed, from the network to the chemical warfare, all leads to this one final staggering truth. Are you ready? This is the most extraordinary fact of them all.
Welcome back to the deep dive. And if you are listening to this, you have made it.
Yeah.
We are standing at the edge of the map.
We really are.
For the last 9 sessions, we've been building this picture of human mental health that is just, it's vastly more complex, more biological, and frankly, more awe-inspiring than anything we usually hear.
It's been a significant ascent. It really has. I mean, if you visualize where we are right now, imagine we aren't just in a studio.
Right.
We are standing on a summit, looking down at this vast, glowing network below us, this golden web of biology, psychology, and environment. We've climbed past the cells, past the hormones, past all the digital noise.
And the view from up here is incredible, but we aren't done. We have one final piece to place. The keystone.
The one that holds it all together.
Exactly. Before revealing fact number 1, we must pause and acknowledge the journey. We have finally reached the summit. Everything we've discussed so far has been leading to this one staggering revelation. This is the fact that changes the entire story of mental health.
It really does. I mean, if the previous 9 facts were the what and the how of our nervous system struggles, fact number 1 is it's the why.
The why.
It is the biological foundation of safety itself. Today, we're going to talk about the regulatory anchor.
The regulatory anchor.
Oh.
Okay. It sounds heavy, it sounds stable, but before we unwrap that, I think we have to look back down the mountain for a second.
Yes.
We need to understand why we even need an anchor in the first place. Because when you look at the picture we've painted over the last few deep dives, honestly, it's a little scary. We seem incredibly fragile.
Vulnerable might be the better word, but you're right. Let's synthesize the climb. We started this journey realizing that the burden isn't just in our heads, it is deeply structurally physical. And to understand why this anchor is so vital, we have to remember the storm we are trying to anchor ourselves against.
Right. And we started with fact number 10, the BioAge accelerator. This was the one that really kept me up at night. The idea that stress isn't just a feeling, it's a biological force.
It is a force, exactly. We discussed the 2026 data on telomeres, those little protective caps on our DNA, like the plastic tips on shoelaces.
Yeah.
We learned that chronic psychological stress literally acts like a pair of scissors, just snipping those tips away. It forces our cells into senescence, or, functional decline, much faster than chronological time would suggest.
I love the library analogy we use for that one, that your body is a library, the cells are books, and stress is this panicked librarian just checking the books out way too fast until the spines break.
A perfect analogy.
It totally changed how I view a stressful week. It's not just a bad mood, it's a tax on my future self. It creates this sense of urgency that we are literally racing against our own biology.
And that race is rigged if we don't understand the chemistry, which of course brought us to fact number 2, the 50% cortisol spike.
Oh man, the hidden amplifier.
The hidden amplifier, yes.
The hydration thing. This was just mind-blowing because it's so simple, yet I think about it every single time I look at my water bottle now.
Simple, yet chemically profound. We learned about arginine vasopressin, or AVP. When you are even mildly dehydrated, we're not talking about dying of thirst, just drinking less than that 1.5 or 2 liters, your body ramps up AVP to conserve water.
But AVP has a side hustle.
It has a side hustle. It primes the HPA axis, your entire stress response system.
So if I'm dehydrated and I get a stressful email, my body reacts 50% harder than it would if I just had a bottle of water. It's like turning the volume knob up on anxiety without even realizing you're doing it.
Precisely. It's a physiological handicap. So we have a body that ages rapidly under stress, that's fact 10, and a chemical system that amplifies that stress if we miss something as basic as water. That's fact 2.
And then it got even stranger.
Then we went deeper to fact number 9, the gut-brain axis.
The second brain, the fiber optic cable under the ocean. This fundamentally shifted how I think about the very idea of feeling good.
That's right. The realization that 95% of your serotonin, the molecule we associate with happiness and regulation, it's not made in your cranium.
No.
It's synthesized in your gut by a microbial ecosystem that is incredibly sensitive to diet, to antibiotics, to stress. We aren't just individuals, we are walking ecosystems.
Right.
And if that ecosystem is in revolt, your mood is the first casualty.
So putting that first part together, we are biologically aging entities prone to chemical amplification, relying on a bacteria colony for our happiness. That's just the hardware.
That's the machine we're operating.
But then we talked about the environment we put this hardware into, the modern trap.
And this is where the friction really happens. We took a Stone Age nervous system, one designed for small tribes, occasional threats, and long periods of rest, and we dropped it into a digital casino.
Fact number 8, the wired but tired loop. I mean, this one resonated with so many listeners. The idea that our internal security system isn't broken, it's
overstimulated. That's a key distinction. We discussed how modern digital life, the notifications, the emails, the 24-hour news cycle, it creates a state of constant, low-grade, sympathetic dominance.
The alarm is always ringing.
Always ringing softly in the background. We never hit reset. The battery never fully charges to 100%. So we're operating on a kind of biological fumes.
Which leads directly to fact number 6. The choice overload glitch.
The metabolic cost of just making decisions.
I still use the master chef versus line cook analogy from that deep dive all the time. Our prefrontal cortex starts the day as this brilliant master chef making great, nuanced decisions. But after 10,000 micro choices, what to click, what to eat, what to reply to, the chef just walks out.
And you are left with the exhausted line cook who just wants to fry everything and go home. You become irritable, impulsive, and disconnected, not because you are a bad person, but because your processing power is literally depleted.
The modern world just demands more than our master chef can sustain without serious breaks. So that's the grim part of the climb, right? We are fragile biology trapped in an exhausting world. But then the clouds broke a little. We started finding the hook mechanisms. We realized we aren't just victims of this architecture.
We did. We found that while we are vulnerable, we are also incredibly precise and adaptable. Fact number 7 gave us the 7 Tesla precision.
The super scanner. This was the big tech moment of the series.
It was. We learned that with ultra-high field MRI, we can finally see that anxiety isn't one thing. It's a very specific firing pattern in the brainstem or a loop in the cortex. Everyone's pain has a unique neural signature.
Which is so validating.
The validation alone is healing for so many people, it says. You are not making this up.
And we aren't just storing it in the brain either. Which was fact number 5, somatic memory, the unfinished symphony. I thought that was so poetic.
It was crucial. The idea that trauma is so often a survival response, fight or flight, that got interrupted. The energy gets trapped in the muscles, the posture, the fascia.
The body keeps the score.
The body keeps the score. But the hope lies in the fact that we can finish the song. We can release that stored tension through specific therapies. We aren't doomed to carry it forever.
We also reframed our flaws, fact number 4, the ADHD superstrength.
Which was about moving from a deficit model to an evolutionary one. Hunters in a farmer's world.
Right.
Hyperfocus, divergent thinking, rapid pattern recognition. These aren't bugs. They're features that just need the right environment to shine.
And finally, the mechanism that makes all of this change possible. Fact number 3, neuroplasticity windows.
Eye plasticity. Yes, the realization that the adult brain isn't fixed concrete. It's more like clay that can be softened again.
How does that work again?
Through intense learning or through chemical triggers like SSRIs or even things like nitrous oxide, we can open these windows where the brain becomes malleable again. We can literally rewire. We can write a new story.
So here we are. We've reached the end of the recap. We know the problem. We're aging, stressed, dehydrated, overwhelmed. We know the potential. We are plastic, adaptable. We can heal our bodies. But this brings us to the big question, the transition to the summit.
Go on.
If we are so plastic, if we are so sensitive, what holds us together? I mean, if we start life with these completely immature systems and the world is constantly trying to knock us off balance, where do we get the stability to even begin to regulate? How do we install the software that says, I am safe?
That is the question. And the answer isn't a pill. It isn't a meditation app. It isn't even inside you, at least not at first.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're at the peak. Give us fact number 1.
Fact number 1 is the regulatory anchor.
The regulatory anchor.
And here is the revelation. Humans are not born with self-regulation. We are born with the capacity for co-regulation.
Oh, regulation.
A caregiver's nervous system acts as the stabilizing reference point, the anchor for a child's developing regulation.
Whoa. Okay, so we talk so much about self-made success and independence, but you're saying that biologically, at our very core, we are incapable of regulating ourselves when we arrive here.
Completely incapable. I mean, think about an infant. When they are distressed, they're hungry, cold, frightened. Their cortisol spikes, their heart rate shoots up, their little system goes into a total red alert state.
Right.
They have absolutely no internal mechanism to bring that back down. They don't have a developed prefrontal cortex to say, hey, calm down, it's just hunger. They don't have the neural pathways for self-soothing yet.
They just have the alarm. They're all alarm and no snooze button.
Exactly. So what happens? A caregiver picks them up. And this is the magic. It's not just about changing the diaper or giving them a bottle. It's about the caregiver's own nervous system.
Okay.
If the caregiver is calm, if their heart rate is slow and steady, if their voice is melodic, that safety is literally transmitted to the child.
How does that transmission work? Is it just like hearing the voice? Is it chemical?
It's multisensory. It's the rhythm of the heartbeat they feel when they're held close. It's the prosody, that sing-song nature of the voice, which stimulates the middle ear muscles that are connected to the vagus nerve. And the child's heart rate actually syncs to the adult's. The child's cortisol flushes out because the adult's presence signals safety at a biological level. The child is essentially borrowing the adult's prefrontal cortex and vagus nerve to survive the storm.
Borrowing a prefrontal cortex, that is a wild image. It's like a biological download, like plugging a dying battery into the main grid.
It is a download. And here is where it gets really interesting. This isn't a one-time thing. This happens thousands and thousands of times over the first few years of life.
A cycle.
A cycle. Distress, co-regulation, safety. Distress, co-regulation, safety. Over and over. And over time, the child's brain builds a neural map of that exact transition. They internalize the anchor. The external safety becomes an internal capacity.
So secure attachment, we hear that term a lot in relationships. You're saying secure attachment isn't just my mom loved me. It's my mom's nervous system taught my nervous system how to not explode.
Precisely. Secure attachment is a physiological transfer of safety. It is the construction project of the self-regulation system. Without that reliable external anchor, the internal structure is built on really shaky ground.
It's the foundation.
It's the difference between building a house on bedrock versus building it on a raft in the middle of a storm.
Okay, I can hear the parents listening to this right now. And I can feel the collective holding of breath. Because nobody is calm 100% of the time.
No one.
We are all stressed, wired, but tired, as we learned in Fact 8. Does this mean if a parent loses their cool, they've shattered the anchor, it's all over?
No. And this is the most critical nuance of fact number 1. Please, you take nothing else away from this whole series. Listen to this. Being a regulatory anchor does not mean being zen. It does not mean perfection.
Thank goodness. because I was about to resign from parenting.
In fact, the research shows that perfect attunement isn't even the goal. The goal is something called the rupture and repair cycle.
Rupture and repair. Okay, break that down.
A rupture is when the anchor drags. You lose your temper. You yell. You're distracted on your phone and you miss their cue. The child gets distressed and you don't soothe them immediately. That's a rupture. It happens to everyone.
Okay, so the connector breaks for a moment.
The magic is in the repair. It's when the adult catches themselves, regulates their own system, takes a deep breath, calms down, and then returns to the child. They get down on their level and say, "I'm sorry I yelled, I was feeling frustrated. I'm here now, you're safe."
So the coming back is actually more important than the never leaving.
Yes, 1,000 times yes. Because think about what that teaches the child, biologically. If the parent was a perfect robot who never got upset, the child would never learn how to handle friction or conflict.
They'd be unprepared for the real world.
Completely. But when there is a rupture and then a repair, the child learns, oh, emotional storms happen, anger happens, disconnection happens. But we come back. Relationships survive. I survive. That is the very definition of resilience.
That's incredible.
Resilience isn't the absence of stress. It's the confidence that you can return to safety after the stress.
That is profound. It actually takes all the pressure off of perfect parenting and puts the focus on honest parenting. It sounds like the repair is actually where the strongest neural pathways are built.
Exactly. It shifts the focus from acting right to regulating real. It teaches the child that safety is something we can recreate even after it's been lost. And that is a life skill of immense value.
But we have to look at the other side of the coin. What happens when there is no anchor? Or when the anchor itself is chaotic and unpredictable? We have to be real about the fact that many listeners might not have had this.
Of course. And this is the consequence of absence. If a child cries and no one comes, or if the person who comes is terrifying and dysregulated themselves, the child doesn't stop needing safety. They just have to find a way to manufacture it themselves with very immature tools.
What does that look like in adulthood? What are those patterns?
Well, it can look like a few things. One very common pattern is hyper-independence. The internal script is, I can't rely on anyone to regulate me, so I will need nothing. I will handle everything myself.
I know a few of those, the I'll do it myself martyrs.
They're the adults who cannot ask for help, who view any dependency as a weakness. They are operating as a closed system because the open system failed them.
What's another one?
Another is fawning or people-pleasing. The script is, the giant people are scary and unstable. I will become a radar dish. I will scan their moods constantly and be whatever they need me to be so they don't explode.
So they regulate the parent to stay safe.
Instead of the parent regulating them. Exactly. And that is an exhausting way to live. Or they can go into chronic shutdown. If the storm is too loud and no anchor is there, you just go to the bottom of the ocean and hide. Dissociation, numbness, you just check out.
So when we look at the mental health crisis we see today, all the anxiety, the burnout, the deep loneliness, how much of it is us just running these old scripts, searching for an anchor we never had a chance to internalize?
A significant amount. We are social primates trying to survive as solitary units. It just doesn't work. But remember, fact number 3, neuroplasticity windows.
Right, it's never too late.
It is never too late. We can rewire these patterns. But here is the aha moment for the adults listening.
Yeah.
Whether you are a parent, a boss, a teacher, or just a friend.
What is it?
This reframes the whole concept of self-care entirely. We often treat self-care as selfish. Oh, I'm going to the spa, I'm taking a nap, sorry I can't help you.
Guilty.
But if you accept fact number 1 that we co-regulate each other, then self-care is actually bioregulatory maintenance for the people around you.
Whoa, say that again.
Your self-care is a bioregulatory tool for your community.
So me getting a good night's sleep isn't just for me, it's so I can be a functional anchor for my kids or my team at work.
Exactly. If you are burned out, dehydrated, remember fact 2, and running on cortisol, your nervous system is broadcasting danger to everyone in the room.
Yeah.
You cannot lend a prefrontal cortex you don't have access to. You cannot lend a sense of calm that you do not possess.
So parenting and leadership, really it's biology. It's not just strategy or words. It's a physiological state.
It is. A parent regulating their own nervous system, going to therapy, setting boundaries, taking that single moment to breathe before reacting is directly maintaining the equipment the child relies on. You are the infrastructure. You have to maintain the bridge if you want people to be able to cross it safely.
There's a quote from the source material for this that really hit me. It said, "The most powerful thing an adult can offer is not perfect advice, but a reasonably regulated presence that says, at a biological level, you are safe enough to feel, learn, and grow here."
That is the essence of it. A reasonably regulated presence. Not perfect, reasonably regulated. It changes the job description of being a human in a community. It lowers the bar for perfection and raises the bar for presence.
It really does. When you think about it, this connects to everything else we've talked about. This truly is the keystone.
It is. This is the view from the top. Let's look at those connections.
Well, take fact number 5, somatic memory, the unfinished symphony. We said the body traps trauma.
Right. And how do you finish the symphony? How do you release that trauma? Usually you need a witness. You need a therapist or a safe partner to hold the space. You need an anchor to say, it's safe to let go now. You co-regulate the release.
The body won't let go of its armor if it feels it's alone.
It rarely does. It's too risky.
No.
And what about fact number 10, the BioAge Accelerator? We wanted to stop the library books from being destroyed.
Yes, the telomeres.
We know chronic stress shortens telomeres, but what buffers stress? Connection, oxytocin, safety. A safe relationship is literally an anti-aging serum at the cellular level. Safe co-regulation buffers the cortisol spikes, which in turn protects the telomeres. If you have a regulatory anchor in your life, the stress of the world just doesn't cut as deep.
And fact number 3, neuroplasticity, the ability to change.
Relationships are the ultimate neuroplasticity window. We can rewire each other's brains. If you grew up without a reliable anchor, you can find one in a partner, a mentor, or a therapist. This is what good therapy often is. Purchasing a consistent regulatory anchor for an hour a week to learn how to do it yourself.
You're renting a prefrontal cortex until you can build your own.
Exactly.
It's amazing. We started this whole series looking at cells, mitochondria, gut bacteria, really microscopic individual stuff, but we ended up here at relationship.
That is the profound irony of the deep dive. We drill down into the biology only to find that our biology is communal. The myth of the modern world is independence. I am an island, I must optimize myself. But the biology says, no, you are a network node. We are anchors for one another.
And when you look at the modern trap we talked about, the wired but tired loop from fact 8, the choice overload from fact 6, it feels like we're trying to fix those things with more apps, more hacks, more individual effort.
Right. We try to use productivity to solve burnout. But fact 1 suggests we need to connect our way out. To fix the modern mental health crisis, we don't just need better pills or apps. We need to become better anchors. We need to create pockets of safety in our homes, our classrooms, our offices, where nervous systems can finally downshift and recharge.
We are anchors for one another. I'm going to be thinking about that for a long time. It makes you look at every single interaction differently. The barista, your spouse, your kid, your annoyed colleague. You have the power to be a stabilizing force in their biological reality, just by how you show up.
And they have that power for you. It's reciprocal. We're a fleet of ships in a storm, but we can tie our boats together. And when we're tied together, the waves don't seem nearly as high.
That is a beautiful place to land. It feels like we've mapped the whole territory now.
I think we have.
That was fact number 1, the absolute pinnacle of our countdown. We hope this journey through the mental health landscape has changed how you see the world today.
And to you, the listener, thank you for spending this time with us. If you're still listening, you are part of the small group of superfans who truly value deep dive knowledge, and we are honored to have you in our community.
If you enjoyed this 2-hour session, please subscribe to join our daily journey, share this episode with someone who loves a mystery, and tell us in the comments which fact blew your mind the most. We read every single one.
We'll be back tomorrow with another countdown of the most magnificent facts in existence. Until then, stay curious, and thanks for listening to the Extraordinary 10 podcast.